Okay, good morning, everybody. Please take your seats. Good morning. The February 27th Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I'd like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. This is an announcement from the interpreter. To use the interpretation features, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you're joining through Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, the three dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio, not to hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you are in the meeting room, please check out the headsets from the receptionist in the lobby. Aviso por parte del intérprete: para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, el globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etcétera, presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, por favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States, from 4 cultural groups: the Kumeyaay de Genyo, the Luiseño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I wanted to share a couple things with you first. Mario and I travel, as well as some of our government relations staff and our planner, has traveled to Sacramento this week to meet with legislators. We met with Senator Padilla, Assemblymember Ward, Senator Blakespear, Assemblymember Berner, Senator Jones, Assemblymember Sharp-Collins. We also met with Strategic Growth Council, what's used to be Office of Planning and Research, and it's now called LCI, and I don't know what it stands for. Cal Cities, CSAC, CalSTA, and the CTC. We had productive discussions on SB 79, OME, LOSAN, and SB 375. We're committed to continued engagement with our state delegation and keeping you all updated. Now I will turn this over to Mario for his update.
Thank you, Chair. As the Chair mentioned, we traveled to Sacramento, very fruitful discussions. Also want to alert the board that as we've been working on SB 375 discussions, making it better, there was Senator Cabaldon who dropped Senate Bill 1087. Right now, basically, this bill is proposing to extend the Sustainable Community Strategy timeline from 4 years to 8 years. What does that mean? Normally, a regional plan also has a sustainable community strategies within it. Is the element that takes the most effort, and it's very timely, and it's very costly. So what we've been talking to the state and all the stakeholders is how can, instead of the money that we're investing in developing these plans, can actually be invested in implementation, getting things done. So that's what this Senate bill is proposing. Is going to go through a lot of iterations. So we'll keep you informed on how this is evolving. We also want to take a moment to congratulate Commissioner Clarissa Falcon from San Diego, who is now has been named the CTC chair. the California Transportation Commission is the commission that basically approves the majority of the transportation funding in the state and the majority of the funding that SANDAG receives. In some cases federal, sometimes most of the cases state. So we really want to extend our congratulations, and it's great to have a San Diegan leading the CTC. So hopefully that will be a great opportunity. On some project updates on the border to Bayshore, we really appreciate the city of Imperial Beach of all their patience. We're getting closer. I think we're finishing with the pavement work and there's some striping work. And after that, hopefully we can have a big celebration of opening a very nice facility and maybe celebrating that SANDAG is out of the city of Imperial, in some cases, the roller coaster of impact. So we really appreciate the city's partnership and the patience of the community as it's gone through this project, as well as the South San Diego community. The university bikeway will be beginning construction next month also. And also I want to mention that we will have another absolute closure window for the Lawson Rail for more work on the Del Mar Bluffs and Batequitos Lagoon, and this will be next weekend. I want to add, there's been in Transportation Committee and also for this meeting, there was a lot of correspondence and concern about one of the items that we have. I just want to clear it that the item that's we call the AB 3090 funding, that it expedites funding for the Del Mar Bridge project. On that project, we're 1 year delayed. We're not advancing it. Actually, we're trying to catch up. And it has many colors of money, and they're all contingent to each of them. We just barely got the federal government to approve a grant that we were waiting for a year for them to approve the full funding agreement. But some of those dollars, those colors of dollars in that project are called STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program dollars. They were requested for fiscal year 26. And the CTC didn't have the cash flow, so they pushed them to fiscal year 29. What that would mean is that all those other colors of money and grants that were being matched with those monies would be lost if we don't move forward. And also that project is a safety project. It's more than 100-year trestle bridge that needs to be replaced. So we're doing this 3090, AB 3090 process where with Transnet dollars, we put them in lieu of the STIP dollars. And then when the new STIP dollars come in 2029, we get reimbursed. What that helps us is to save, well, to reduce the cost due to delays, to move forward with the safety job and not lose the full funding with the grants. The concern is also by building this bridge, are we already kind of saying which alternatives we're selecting or guiding the alternative for the Lawson realignment? No. We have to be very clear that a safety operational job, it is something that we need to move forward. Safety is our most priority, but the Lawson realignment project is a multi-billion-dollar project that determining the preferred alternative will not be contingent on connecting to a single structure. It's an array of elements that are taken into consideration, and this should not, us moving forward with this project should not signal to the community that we're not hearing them, that we're not seriously considering every single alternative, and that this will preclude the honest and evaluation of all the alternatives. We actually appreciate the partnership with the community. Some of their ideas have been superb, and we're starting to incorporate them in our studies and in our refined alternatives.
Thank you. We will now go to non-agenda public comment and then non-agenda member comment. Michael?
Thank you. If you're online, please raise your hand now. For the purposes of civility in an orderly meeting, we kindly ask that you refrain from using loud, threatening, profane, or abusive language. Per our board policy, the amount of time allowed for each verbal public comment is determined based on the number of agenda items, the complexity of those items, and the number of persons anticipated to offer comment. This allows us to hear from as many people as possible to complete our business while we still have a quorum. Based on those factors, the chair has determined that for today's meeting, each member of the public will be allowed 2 minutes for their comments. We have 3 in person and we have 8 online. Call Shirley Weiss, followed by Purita Javier.
Good morning, Madam Chair and distinguished members of the board. My name is Shirley Weiss. I'm a longtime resident of Del Mar. I'm a constituent citizen of SANDAG. I'm an attorney and a California taxpayer for over 50 years. In June of 2022, SANDAG and the Coastal Commission made a deal. SANDAG wanted a phase 5 permit to further armor the bluffs, the Del Mar bluffs, and erect massive seawalls. The Coastal Commission found that that project was not in conformance with the Coastal Act. Nevertheless, the Coastal Commission granted the permit on the express condition that SANDAG would construct 8 mitigation measures. I'll address one of them. Del Mar residents and all of San Diego County that use the Del Mar beaches were thrilled at this deal. One of the conditions was that SANDAG would construct access to the beach, either under the tracks, over the tracks, or across the tracks through another at-grade crossing. The Coastal Commission imposed strict deadlines. By April of 2027, SANDAG is supposed to have the completed designs and environmental review, and by April of 2027, SANDAG was supposed to start construction on this alternative access. Del Mar has not received any updates on these very important 8 mitigation conditions, and in particular, the one that I think is the most important, access to the beach. It is a California constitutional right. Funds that Del Mar asked to be earmarked for the construction of the project were instead routed to Encinitas and Carlsbad.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Purita Javier, followed by Cesar Javier. Thank you for your comment. Next is Purita Javier, followed by Cesar Javier.
Good morning. We, Cesar Purita Javier, both seniors with existing medical condition and victims of ceramics home business emitting toxicity poisoning. The air we breathe at a neighborhood dedicated as residential zone since 1984. We are hurt, particularly me, Purita, physically, emotionally, and even financially, since we began reporting to local authorities at sea, AP, CD, County, SANDAG in June 2021. This is our 5th year seeking solution, and nothing has been done to uproot the costs. Honors, business types is non-metallic mineral product manufacturing and easily got business tax permit without regulatory standard. With this permit, he can locate, construct, and operate his hazardous business even at residential zone neighborhood. This is the magnet or residential zone neighborhood.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Cesar Javier, followed by Leif Gensert online.
What will you do as a husband to protect your family? What if you see your wife in pain? What will you do, Councilor Lacaba? Councilor Vivian Moreno, the frontliner of the city of San Diego at the borders, TJ, pollution crisis. What will you do? We prayed and thought of all measures like a warrior. And we learned from Sun Won-Chu, you can win war without firing a shot. We did not fire any single shot, Councilor Rivera, Councilor President, Council Lacaba. Did we fire a shot? Never, because I protect and defend this Constitution. I use my voice. I use my body language. A father-like shout, if only to find that divine answer. And you did. You said, declared in public, Mr. Javier, I will talk to you or with you at my office regarding your ceramic skill. I said, no more, sir, because that would be the second talk. We need solution. Sorry, my voice is, I am an
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Leif Gensert, followed by Andrea Ebbing online. Leif, go ahead.
Good morning, SANDAG. Great Board of Directors meeting. It's nice that you traveled to Sacramento to get informed about SB 79, to have discussions. I'm the Vice President of Writers D, so I want to remind you that with the knowledge of SB 79, try to implement it with sustainability in mind. That means not shying away from densification. Don't try to game SB 79 by reducing frequency so that you don't have to densify. In addition to that, you should release the map of SB 79 to give the public your understanding of what SB 79 could look like for the region of San Diego. When it comes to regional plan, again, take into account SB 79, but implement the bus routes that you outlined to the best of the available BRT standards. Don't just call it Next Gen Rapid and remove stops. Make it actually fast. Make it on a dedicated right away. On that note, the purple line is currently only light rail from the border to Mission Valley. We want to see a heavy rail all the way to Sorrento Valley, potentially even to Mira Mesa. Keep that in mind. I know money is tight, but we want to see SANDAG leadership to push for something that is amazing, that is visionary. Thank you on that. I yield my time.
Next is Andrea Ebbing, followed by Blair Beekman.
Hi, this is Andrea Ebbing. I wanted to let everybody know that the case that I talk about, my case, is not a past tense case, and it is definitely going to haunt every single person involved until it is resolved. I highly suggest people start doing their damn jobs, okay? The feds are watching, and I'm not talking about the local feds who sit under Dana Sabrow's desk and beg for his blood money. I'm talking about the real feds, okay? And people like Dana Sabrow and Summer Steffen, her city attorney sister, Raina Steffen, are really unfortunate in the history of San Diego because they are responsible for so many fatalities, so much malfeasance, so much corruption. They've run this place like a RICO enterprise for so long. In line with them can rest assured they are on the RICO case that is about to be filed, okay? It is really unfortunate when we have an entire criminal justice system that is so filthy and corrupted that we have an arduous system that is now just basically just copy, paste, cut, edit, delete, do whatever you want. That's the status quo now. Well, when you run things like that for so long and you hurt so many people and you do so much malfeasance like those people have done, tainted so many people that got into public service because they were wanting to help the community, but now they're bottom feeding RICO enterprise members because they got a taste of the blood money too. What happens is your daughter turns into a porn star, and that's exactly what happened with Summer Stephan and Dana Sabrow. Her daughter turned into an adult film star due to severe neglect from mommy and daddy who liked blood money more than their own kids. It's a really sad time for San Diego, but it's going to be a great time when those people are gone and hopefully imprisoned for their filthy, disgusting crimes against humanity, child trafficking. Thank you.
Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by Truth.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting today. Happy end of February. Return to San Diego from Maui, Hawaii next week, so I'll be back in San Diego. To go over kind of my usual laundry list, which hopefully can be familiar to yourselves. First, a thank you to Mario for his initial reporting. A nice public comment by a person. I'm interested in how the future of rail lines through Escondido and Mira Mesa. It sounded like the other public commenter said. I hope that can be addressed. And thank you for the words of Mario to explain that the Lausanne corridor things does encompass a lot. Good luck how to be open to all ideas at this time. Thank you. And I also wanted to comment, again, I hope that with Kristi Noem visiting San Diego about a week or two ago now, it could be a really good time for a voice of SANDAG collectively to speak to the DHS and Kristi Noem and just really explain best practices. And I think you're all in favor of the ideas of de-escalation and demilitarization of ICE agents in your local cities and neighborhoods. I think that's a mandatory goal we have to directly be working on with federal agencies. We can directly have dialogue with them on that subject matter, I think, and they'll listen. So please work on it. It's important. And from that, the ARGIS issues, man, we have the San Diego Law Enforcement Center and CLETS. They're doing a ton of work that can accomplish a lot. I think that allows ARGIS a certain amount of room to work towards best practices and really develop a program that's unique and special. And I hope you guys really want to work on that. We have to be talking about ARGIS more in the future. Good luck how we do that. Thank you.
Next is Truth, followed by the original draw.
Hey, it's your voice of conscience, Truth. For the record, Mario spoke out of order on an agendized item. I hope he wasn't sweating like Hassan used to because we're just getting started today. And the last executive committee started 30 minutes late. The punishment should consist of no free parking anywhere, especially for Joe and especially at Balboa Park. A recent reminder to SANDAG that the country wants to give 50% of unearned Otay East toll revenue to Mexico is ran by cartel terrorists. SANDAG, the state and Fed should commit to strict environmental restrictions on cars coming from Mexico and not a dime to Mexico until all sewage and cartel are eliminated. Next, why is SANDAG prioritizing managed toll lanes before it even has a working back office system? Harry was right about surface streets becoming congested. Where's SANDAG's mitigation plan for residential communities? Any advisory committee on managed toll lanes will be stacked with South Bay progressives, not regular people, political puppets. I demand quotas on area representation, and I demand equal access for the unincorporated communities via a teleconference option. The word discounts came up for certain groups like disabled veterans, but most disabled veterans don't have extra money to pay tolls. That's how out of touch some of you are. And all discounts would be at the expense of one's privacy, hence why privacy lawsuits came up. How many tax dollars were wasted on the admitted failed experiment known as HOV lanes? How many tax dollars will be lost for a managed toll lane experiment? If GHGs have not been reduced with the addition of managed toll lanes, as Karina had pointed out, then why would SANDAG put us into debt to pursue them other than straight greed? What SANDAG needs to focus on is safety. Look how many hit and runs keep happening every week. SANDAG needs to advocate for harsher punishments and to start putting out material on safe driver culture, because speed has never been the root cause. This reckless behavior started in 2020 during the lockdown. SANDAG needs to quit stalling and start putting safety dividers on backcountry highways and roads, including La Cresta Road. Invest like you invested in those stupid bike lanes almost nobody uses. Quit neglecting the backcountry.
Thank you. Next is the original draw, followed by Marco Espinosa.
Howdy doody, terrorists. It's interesting to see you guys and the actions that you take and the bitching about ICE, yet you incentivize them to come by incentivizing all the people to cross the border by saying, oh, it's not happening, right? And how, all the Democrats just sat there when they were prompted to stand in support of the American people, and they refused. And that's what this board is full of. People who refuse to do things for the American people, but you'll do anything and everything for a foreigner. And it's interesting to see what the county is doing and how much, business is being done with Mexico. You guys don't want to fix the sewage because you're going to be making money off of that. But it's interesting to see SIMSA is a Mexican HMO where employees of the county that live in America have to get this health care in Mexico. So how many people are actually Mexican nationals and not U.S. citizens that are working in the county that are benefiting from this HMO employee benefit? And, it's discriminatory because it's not for Americans. And it's very interesting because why can't the Americans then go and get the same health care? And it's cheaper. But it's just sad to see the things like that you guys, you don't care about the cars coming from Mexico. They don't have to have the same restrictions as Americans. When are you guys actually going to do stuff for the American people and make sure that we don't have to suffer from the consequences of your actions? It's just really disturbing to see how much you guys will bend over backwards for certain people. Even Jezebel Paloma, doesn't want people participating in a 4th of July event if they don't agree with everything the county is pushing, being a sanctuary city. Doesn't that defeat the purpose of Independence Day? I'm just wondering, but who knows? We're just changing the definition of everything, right?
Thank you. Next is Marco Espinosa, followed by Paul the Bold.
Hello, good morning. Marco Espinosa. I just was curious as to if the location for the upcoming retreat had been established yet. And that's all. Happy Friday and have a nice day. Thank you.
Next is Paul the Bold, followed by our last public comment, Consuelo.
Paul Bold here. Not sure why the proposed 2026 legislative program is not on today's agenda. You put it off, but this year is going fast. Meanwhile, I hope you can help fix coaster train operations. In recent years, riders who actually pay their fares on NCTD trains have steadily decreased. Since 2023, about a third of coaster riders and more than half of sprinter riders were fare evaders. As a whole, fare revenues have dropped from about 18.9 million in 2013 to 11.7 million last year. Meanwhile, NCTD's operating costs grew from 79 million to more than 166 million. NCTD, for example, would like to grow its on-demand van system, which sounds like SANDAG's flexible fleet, the $4.4 million lost to fare evasion last year, the CEO said, would essentially cover the bill for us to expand it in 3 different cities. But right now, there aren't consequences if the passenger refuses the NCTD employees a request to pay. NCTD has embraced an inform, not enforce policy when checking whether a passenger is paid. The CEO said if someone chooses not pay that fare, we do not intervene at that moment for the safety of the employee. There have in fact been more assaults recently on the coaster. Code enforcement officers wrote hundreds of additional tickets in 2011.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our last public comment is Consuelo.
Okay, Consuelo here. Yeah, first of all, thank you to everyone who, all the concerned citizens, except for the drunken zombie who calls in for, I don't even know why he calls in. But anyways, to all the concerned citizens, you guys are awesome. And I appreciate you caring enough to call in or be there. Anyways, let's see. Yesterday, I spoke at the California Air Resource Board meeting where, let's see, Senator Wiener, Scott Wiener, was in attendance. It was the first meeting of the year. And yeah, honestly, it was more of the same. And yeah, what's undeniable at this point is the majority of people you claim to serve don't even know you exist. They don't know the scope of your authority. They don't understand how deeply your policies shape their lives. And that was obvious yesterday, too. 4 people spoke. 4. In a state of nearly 40 million. And it's gross. It's really sad. And, you know, when agencies operate in that kind of obscurity, sweeping decisions move forward without real public awareness. And we see that all the time. At CARB, it's framed as health and air quality. Here at SANDAG, it's sustainability and planning. But what people feel is increasing regulation, increasing control, increasing influence over how we live, move, and exist, all for the agenda. So, yeah, and I noticed the patterns, the polished presentations, the uniform messaging, the rehearsed reassurance, and it's obvious too when someone steps out of the script, their energy shifts. And it's their supposed openness, it narrows. And like I said, that was so obvious when you go off of the script and are not buying their narrative.
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes our non-agenda public comment, Chair.
Thanks, Michael. Now it's member non-agenda comments. And first up, we have San Marcos Mayor Jones.
Just had one question of Mario. So you had said that SB 1087 extends or is looking to extend from 40 years to 8 years, the SCS, the Sustainable Community Strategy. That's not the regional plan also, because those two go together because they have to be done every 4 years, but it would just make that one every other cycle versus, okay. I just wanted to get clarification.
It would align with the RENA cycle. It will probably require reporting, but it's not that intense of developing models and everything like that.
Okay, that was my only question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Shin.
Yeah, I'd like to thank our staff from last week. I had an opportunity to speak with each senior director to just be briefed on. One thing that I realized was I had a little bit of ignorance in regards to the year prior of me being here, which was the level of organizational changes that actually needed to take place. I didn't realize it was almost a wholesale restructuring of what SANDAG is. And it kind of in lieu of the retreat that we're about to go on, I really wanted to make sure that I understood staff's perspective of what challenges that they need to face. I kind of say to us as a board that as we want to be creative and come up with ideas and policies, that we should really make sure that we're talking to the staff, and especially to you, Mario, which is a direction that I believe in. As you're saying, that we have to all be in this bus and repair it at the same time. And it takes extraordinary challenges, but the amount of stress and pressures that your staff have to take may get amplified if we end up creating policies that will disrupt what they're trying to do. And I don't think this is an overnight fix. I don't think this is a next year fix. I think this is going to take some time in order to get our to get the culture of SANDAG to where it really needs to be, so that when you're not here and a replacement comes in down the road, not saying anytime soon, that culture stays intact. And so I think that's what we were failing to have prior. So just a lot of respect for what our senior directors and below are going to have to face from now on. But that's the perspective I'm hoping that we get to learn at this board retreat. That's all.
Thank you. Mayor Sanchez.
Move approval.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're not on consent yet. We're on
sorry.
agenda member comments. But I'll
Okay,
remember
I'll just
that.
say Mario's not going anywhere.
Thank you. Very good. I agree with that. All right, now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Michael, do we have any public comments on consent?
We do, Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bruce Ayers, did you want to
I
speak?
did want to pull through that for. I still have a couple of questions.
Oh, okay. So we're not into that yet, but okay. Michael, how many public commenters do we have on consent?
So we have 5 in person and we have 3 online. First, we'll have Camilla Rang, followed by Amy Cheshire. Please, just a quick statement, though, that we're opening the public comment on the consent agenda, so please limit your comments to items on the consent agenda only. Please state the consent agenda item you are speaking to. If comments are not related to the consent agenda, you will be asked to stay on topic. If you do not stay on topic, you will be muted. So Camilla Rang, followed by Amy Cheshire.
Good morning, board members. My name is Camilla Rang, and I'm a long-term resident of Del Mar, a town that will bear the brunt of SANDAG's planned double tracking and train rerouting off of Del Mar Bluff. To minimize the destruction of our small town, our grassroots organization, the Coalition for Safer Trains, have worked out and presented to SANDAG a train rerouting line and double tracking that would not destroy the town of Del Mar nor tear down homes. This line is called the Northern Yellow Line and was included in the updated NOP on May 16, 2025 for the ERI studies as one of the options for the train rerouting track. The plans for double tracking the local part of the Lawson Corridor include double tracking the southern end of Solana Beach, a new trestle over San Diego Ito River, and a platform for fairground visitors, and south thereafter once a route has been decided based on the EIR. The trestle platform were planned 10 years ago, long before the rerouting was an imminent fact, and long before the Northern Yellow Line were on one of the alternatives. Therefore, the southern end of the platform has not been adjusted to fit the Northern Yellow Line. Instead, the 3 first alternatives on the NOP were planned to fit the platform, while the Northern Yellow Line is a slightly different southern end of the platform. To accommodate for the possible choice of the preferred Northern Yellow Line, the plan was to start the project at the farthest north end of the project, the double checker of Solana Beach, and then work southward with the trestle and lastly the platform. By the time the plat was to be completed, the EIR and the rerouting line should be determined. However, very recently, we learned that SANDAG is seeking to make funds available prematurely to be used for the bridge and platform. And naturally, this makes us uneasy because it suggests that the bridge and platform will be constructed first before the EIR is in and the relocating route has been decided. As I mentioned, the platform is supposed to be the last leg of the project to wait for the EIR of the train relocation alternatives to allow for the Northern Yellow Line. One very wasteful way of looking at this would be to say that if the Northern Yellow Line is chosen, we will rebuild the platform. I don't think anyone really thinks that is a good choice, neither economically nor environmentally, and I am an environmentalist. Why dig up this sensitive lagoon area?
Your time has expired. Next is Amy Cheshire, followed by Shirley Weiss.
Good morning, Madam Chair, honorable board members. My name is Amy Cheshire, and I've lived in coastal communities of San Diego County my whole life. Recently, I've been helping to develop and promote the low-san rail realignment that is the best solution for the entire San Diego region. This route is the Northern Yellow Line, a route that avoids taking homes and businesses by running along the southern edge of the Del Mar Fairgrounds property to the I-5. This route, which is the least costly alignment, would require modifications to the southern end of the San Diego double-track bridge as it is currently designed. If the board decides today to move forward with this timeline for the bridge, then you could be wasting taxpayer dollars. We should plan to start construction of the southern portion of the bridge project after the EIR for the realignment is complete and the best route has been selected. When asked whether building the bridge before the realignment is selected could be a problem, SANDAG analyst Ariana Galvin replied, while there may be a potential alternative that could interact with the new structure, the overall risk of delaying replacement is considered greater. However, no evidence is provided to support this statement. CEO Orzo has emphasized repeatedly that safety is the most important reason for expediting construction of the new bridge. But the condition of the old bridge is not mentioned in the California Coastal Commission consistency certification. SANDAG states that the purpose of the proposed San Dieguito double track project is to increase the reliability, operational flexibility, and capacity of the Losan Rail Corridor in order to add passenger and freight rail service. No engineering reports have been provided that state the bridge cannot be safely maintained, as NCTD has done for years. I hope you will ask for clarification on the following points before you vote on this agenda item. Why not continue to maintain the old bridge? If the Northern Yellow Line is the best realignment, how will it connect to the bridge? Has SANDAG developed the Northern Yellow Line to the same level as the other routes? And if so, can those—
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Shirley Weiss, followed by Cesar Javier. Please state what consent items you are speaking to.
I believe it's 3.4. My name is Shirley Weiss. I was very much heartened by the remarks of CEO Orso, who stated in substance that the building of the bridge would not predetermine the selection of the rail route, which is a much, much bigger and frankly more important project. I think that it should be understood and it should be stated that the construction of the bridge, if you go forward, will not even influence the selection of the route. As currently designed, that route points right toward either the Camino del Mar or the Crest Canyon routes. Both of those routes are hugely destructive to the city of Del Mar. They should be eliminated from the study now, just as you eliminated Route A at the early stage of consideration for whatever reason. Camino del Mar and Crest Canyon involve massive eminent domain. They involve destructive, pollution-spewing portals in neighborhoods, including multifamily apartment and condominium neighborhoods. They would eliminate any possibility that the Penasquitos Lagoon can be restored the way that the Northern Yellow Line would restore it. And they involve a massive safety issue. There were 722 derailments in 2022 in the United States. Why do we ever possibly even consider tunneling under homes and tunneling under the main street of Del Mar as a potential safety? It's not a question of if, it's a question of when a derailment is going to occur and at higher speeds. I implore you to reconsider whether or not you study those two routes.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Cesar Javier, followed by Dustin Fuller. Please identify what consent item you are speaking to.
Cesar Javier, Community Advocacy. Consent agenda. We have been here almost 3 years. And whether we like it or not, it's up to you, sirs and madams, thinkers. 3.2. I might be disciplined by the security lady here. 3.2. Policy Advisory Committee actions. We have been dreaming since, this is our third year to emphasize, SANDAG handed the authority, responsibility, and funding in silver platter. NGO, you have the power for eminent domain. I want this space because this is the rightful pathway. For what and for whom? San Diegans, man. This is all about survivability, not just circulation, like the artery and vein in our physical body. Under it, we dream that when something, a disaster, I give you the authority to do something. What transportation circulation is envisioned in the cleaning of this Tijuana mess? What kind of transportation? What kind of mobility? Let's work together and think about.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Dustin Fuller, followed by Blair Beekman online. Please state what consent item you're speaking to.
I'll be speaking on 3.4. Good morning, Chair Huebner, directors. My name is Dustin Fuller. I am the supervising environmental planner for the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Today, here speaking on their behalf in support of the Double Track project in general, and more specifically, the action before you today. I appreciate CEO's Orso's comments clarifying what the action actually is. And to that point, I've been working on this project personally since 2009 with your SANDAG staff and NCTD staff. My board of directors has supported this project since then, and they remain in support. In addition to the safety concerns that would be addressed, reduce traffic in and around the area, reduce parking in and around the area, and reduce the carbon footprint generated by the Del Mar Fairgrounds. Again, we worked with the SANDAG, NCTD, we worked with DGS, Del Mar Thoroughbred Club to get right-of-way and entry, to get permission to construct, work on easements. It's not been an easy task, but we've done it. We were ready to begin in 2026. Unfortunately, we hit a delay, but we're still fully ready to go for 2027. And the only thing I'd like to say is this project's been fully permitted. Environmental review has been completed for several years now. We're in full support and hope you guys will vote in favor. Thank you very much.
Next is Blair Beekman online, followed by Truth. Please state what consent item you're speaking to.
Blair Beekman to the previous meeting minutes. I don't know its agenda number, I'm sorry. But to continue right now, thank you. First, good luck to the Javiers who sound like they're addressing the concerns of the neighbor who has because of his longevity in being there, has a easier way to get a permit that the Javiers are trying to question and ask for help upon. Good luck in helping that sort of issue and question for the Javiers. I wanted to offer on the meeting minutes of last time, the 13th, that there are items about board policy updates and the managed lane issues. Board policy updates, you've been dealing a lot with whistleblower things. Hearty congratulations and a thank you. Like I've tried to say, the work I do with tech accountability really came on the scene about 2014. Believe it or not, whistleblower protections were a part of that original tech accountability plan. And it's really, we're trying to find ways to develop a community dialogue and just an overall healing of how we address our issues. And working on whistleblower protections is a healing issue. And good luck how we work on it together. It affects, not just people within city governments, but the community as well. And how we work on that together is really important. The managed lane issues, that's more tech accountability stuff. If you practice good tech accountability with the managed lane issues, I think things will appear to yourselves much, much easier, and ideas and examples. Good luck in that effort. And ARGIS is really seriously taking it to a new level in dealing with the federal agencies. They want to be at that new level, and that's why we're having all this ARGIS dialogue right now. Good luck that you understand that.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Truth, followed by the original draw. Please note what consent item you're speaking to.
Hey, item 3.2, attachment 2 for this item is missing from the agenda, so NOTA NCTD's mystery amendment. Item 3.3, note to the $1.2 million securities bought in Truist Bank. These idiots have apologized for slavery, yet never donated reparations, land, or company shares. Pointless virtue signaling. Noted $2.5 million towards multimodal access on Pacific Highway, which just means a red paint bus lane. How are $93 fraudulent charges getting through on SANDAG purchase cards? 3 months of meetings totaled $4,533.74, including a single meeting that cost $1,011. A statewide motorist aid conference for 38 people for 2 days wasted $8,307. SANDAG wasted $195 for one person to get an award. Item 3.8, note RTCIP fee increases that increase housing costs. Instead, reduce the cost of labor by banning project labor agreements. Item 3.4, note another SANDAG switcheroo of the San Dieguito Bridge mysteriously joining the 6S-TIP project. Staff made an executive decision to turn a two-phase project into a one-phase project against what both board and the state agreed to. Somehow, the greedy fairgrounds got their platform expedited using our local dollars. Something fishy in the lagoon. This board did not plan for this bridge until 2028, yet staff is getting the jump on taking away funding from other projects. If the state can suddenly guarantee $62 million for a rail corridor that's not even past the planning stage, certainly SANDAG staff could have expedited funding for Highway 67, where people have literally died. This board agreed to highway safety as a priority, not platforms and bridges. A San Diegan as chair of CTC breeds even more suspicion. Why did staffer Michelle Smith lie, claiming SANDAG has used AB 3090 before, when Don clarified that SANDAG has never used AB 3090? Was this stunt planned for when there was membership turnover on iTalk? This item in consent means SANDAG completely killed trust again. And that's why item 3.9, you need to stop adding more projects.
Thank you.
We need funding for
your
this
time has
type of thing.
expired. Next, the original draw, followed by Consuelo. Please identify what consent item you're speaking to.
Every single one, because you guys are all engaged in fraud, waste, and abuse. It's insane. Yeah, 62 million in an advance. Where's that money going? Whose pockets is that money going to go into? Because it seems like you guys are advancing these funds, then trying to minimize the impacts of things like, the funds in transit, Nat. But, if you guys are going to not even already have this planned out, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, and this bridge could totally become obsolete if you decide that you want to take this route, wherever you're going to do, and take eminent domain. I mean, there's just a lot of fraud that's taking place in this, and the fact that you guys want an advancement in money when, it just shows that your negligence. And this is what you guys continue to do on a regular basis. Engage in fraud, waste, and abuse in many ways, either with different companies that are already corrupt and have done things that have caused issues, yet you'll just keep sending them money, right? Even though they keep asking for more, it's okay. And you guys should not be doing anything that have to do with conflicts of interest, because everything you guys do is a conflict of interest. Your congestion improvement for developers, it's like you're forcing people to build densely, and then you're like, we're going to charge you a fee for it because of the congestion that this is causing, because you're choosing to do this. Like, it's so bananas to see what governments do and the people that actually want to be a part of it. And then the whole Lauren Warren arbitration regarding personnel concerns. Why don't you guys really say what's going on in there? Because you want to sit there and talk about it and closed session, and she should get that money. But what you should have done is the right thing and made sure you didn't treat her the way that she was treated, and exited that way because of exposing what you guys are now trying to implement more of that you can't even handle. So how much more money are you guys going to take from us? Man, you guys are you'll just do anything for money.
Next is Consuelo, followed by Andrew Ebbing. Please identify what consent item you're speaking to.
Okay, Michael, I just wanted to let you know that I got a message from Paul saying that somebody lowered his hand. So if you can get back to him, that would be great. Okay, Consuelo speaking on 3.7, conflicts of interest. Okay, conflicts of interest are it's a recurring problem at SANDAG, undermining transparency and public trust. Decisions too often favor private or political interests over community, revealing a pattern of systematic corruption. Independent oversight is needed, obviously. SANDAG must serve the people and not globalists' agendas. I'll repeat that. I am speaking on conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest are a recurring problem at SANDAG, undermining transparency and public trust. Decisions too often favor private or political interests over community, revealing a pattern of systematic corruption. Independent oversight is needed. SANDAG must serve the people, not globalist agendas. I'll repeat that. 3.7, conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest are a recurring problem at SANDAG, undermining transparency and public trust. Decisions too often favor private or political interests over the community, revealing a pattern of systematic corruption. Independent oversight is needed. SANDAG must serve the people and not globalist agendas. One more time. 3.7, conflicts of interest. Conflicts of interest are a recurring problem at SANDAG, undermining transparency
Thank you.
and
Your
public
time has
trust.
expired. Next is Andrea Ebbing, followed by Leif Gensert. Please identify what consent item you're speaking to.
Andrea Ebbing speaking on 3.1 and 3.7. Thank you, Consuelo. I'm so glad you repeated that as many times as you did. I was writing it down as you were repeating it because it's exactly our biggest problem. And we like to say people are off topic when we're talking about individuals in SANDAG who have conflicts of interest, are clearly engaged in corruption to the highest extent. That being said, if we're favoring private interests over public interests, I would like to say it's very curious. It is very curious. We got El Mencho, right? We got El Mencho, and I say, okay, we got this Mexican drug lord, and clearly crossing over the border with major narcotics is something that has to happen. That's part of the operation. Very important to the operation. Also interesting that we get Mario as a CEO, and then suddenly Vargas has to resign out of safety concerns. And Mario is not concerned as much as anybody else is about the sewage crisis, but he's very much concerned about automating the freight trucks crossing the border to reduce pollution. So let's reduce pollution by letting major narcotics trucks filled with drugs, filled with people, human trafficking. Let's prioritize that. Let's put billions of dollars into that, and let's scare everybody off the board, right? Because we have a RICO enterprise operating here that will absolutely not hold anybody accountable because
Please
of
stay
their
on
conflict
topic,
of
Ms.
interest.
Ebbing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So freight trucks should not be the priority. Freight trucks filled with major narcotics and human beings should not be the priority for San Diego. I feel as though that's a conflict of interest. I think the Tijuana sewage crisis should be, and we cannot be going into these areas in the county that are not sure why or how these millions of dollars are being approved. We're just chalking it up to safety and emergency, right? So, all right, I'm going to go back to the board, okay? SANDAG.
Thank you. Your
conflict
time
of
has
interest.
expired.
Thank you.
Next is Leif Gensert, our last public comment.
Good morning, SANDAG. I'm speaking on agenda item 3.4. I'm the Vice President of RIDE-SD. We advocated and proposed the Crest Canyon alignment for the Lausanne corridor. We think it is the fastest option and the one that benefits the most people in the county of San Diego and all over Southern California. We just want to make sure that with your implementation of the double tracking of the bridge, you keep electrification in mind. We believe that overhead wire electrification is the best technology for running trains in terms of pollution and in terms of acceleration and in terms of speed. So overall, please build the bridge double tracked as fast as possible. We want the Lausanne corridor to be double tracked. We want it to be fast, and we want it to be electrified. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our public comment. Just a reminder, public commenters, that you must raise your hand at the start of an item for the purposes of an orderly meeting. And Chair, that concludes our public comment on this item.
Thank you very much. Mayor Ehlers, did you want to speak on this?
Yeah, I wanted to pull 3.4, so I'll make a motion to approve all but 3.4.
What would you like to say about 3.4?
I wanted to reiterate, we had talked previously about the northern yellow line as an option. I think I was reassured last time I talked about it that there wouldn't be. And I'm still not sure, even after your comments today, Mario, will the design be done for the bridge or the platform as a result of this ahead of the choice we make, the final selection?
The design is basically done for that project. It's scheduled to go to, let's say it's 90%, 95% done. The specs are being written right now and it's scheduled to go for bid this summer. I'll be awarded this December or January of 27 and begin construction in the spring. So,
Okay, and when do we anticipate the EIR being complete and the final selection of the route?
the NEPA and the CEQA, I would say somewhere around 2028.
Right.
And then
And
add the
doesn't
rest.
that contradict what was just implied? In other words, I'm worried what is happening as we're going down the path that in the previous meeting, I got assurance that we would be able to evaluate the northern route. And now what I'm hearing is we're not only not going to be having it evaluated yet, but we're actually actively spending money on construction, awarding bids, and we're going to be well into the construction even of a solution that that precludes, it would require modification. So I'm trying to make sure you'll hear me say at in my council chambers, you don't ready, shoot, aim, right? It's aim, ready, shoot. And I feel like we're putting it backwards. So that's why I'm asking this. I wanted a clear answer. I think I got my clear answer. I'll be voting no on this.
That's fair. I just wanted to add, the team has been working very hard, and during an environmental document process, it's complex on a multi-billion-dollar project, where they're trying to balance on the different alternatives, all the different comments and concerns and multiple issues. I think they're finding a good spot to land with that alternative that basically considers what the public has been, some groups have been giving us some great ideas, and it also considers the environment and other issues. So it is basically, we feel comfortable with what we're doing. We feel that we're working in a good progression and that we're taking everything into consideration.
But are you not precluding the northern yellow route?
No, we're not.
And so what would, if in 2028, when we have the EIR and we make a selection and we're already constructing the straight platform and the bridge and the straight platform, what would, if this group selects the northern yellow route, what are the ramifications? How much money in that construction will it be wasted?
I don't know at this time. And
Order of magnitude.
let me just, let me change some sequence of thought here. There was a public commenter from the Del Mar Fairgrounds that mentioned that he has been working on this project since 2008. By the time this platform project, which is in bridge replacement, which is probably 10 or 20 times simpler, the realignment job, and 10 times less expensive, it's going to be 20 years. So by the time that we even get to build the Lawson realignment, it's going to be a very long time to get the funding, get the design, do the record of decision, and most probably the agency may get sued because have you heard by different commenters, some like one alternative, others like another alternative. So 2028 may not be the end of the environmental document process. It may be the beginning of another journey within the environmental document process. I hope not. But then you have to go and do the design on a straight project. If we would not sequence it, it would probably be $300 to $500 million just designing the project. We're having problems funding 100 million or 160 for some of our I-5 projects. So that gives you the magnitude of the challenge. And then add to that right-of-way cost, and then the construction cost. Is a very long lead project. And therefore, we feel comfortable that we're moving forward with the existing project that's dealing with immediate needs. We are accommodating and considering all the different alternatives that have been proposed. We are working with the community very closely on multiple alternatives and trying to hear them and put in all the moving pieces on them. So that's what I can tell you right now. It's, if you ask me a percentage or what could be the impact to the structure of itself, I would be just making a guess, but the guess could be from 0% to 20 or 30%. But what we're going to try to do is work in that arena. That should not, that impact in the order of magnitude should not decide which alternative gets selected, because there are many other factors.
Okay, as part of the decision body, I would expect to understand and have that as a trade-off in the document, that we know what we're doing. Until I asked that very direct question in this forum, I didn't have a full understanding for what would have to change. A better decision-making process for this organization would be to lay it out there in black and white so the public can see it, we can see it. From a design project planning standpoint, it should be a fairly straightforward matter on a 20-year project to spend a little time up front right now estimating the amount of rework we will have to do. That's what I'm asking for.
Yes.
Would it be possible if we continued this to a future date, a month from now, whatever? Could we get that estimate in black and white in front of us?
No. To be quite honest, no, because you have so many environmental studies being done, geotech, everything.
I'm only asking for the amount of money that would be wasted if we chose the yellow route, the yellow north route.
And we would be giving you information that it's in a realm of possibilities, that it won't be pinning it down in an absolute. It could be a range.
That would be fine.
But what I'm trying to, and I respect that, we would do something, but you're asking us to give you something that is going to be hard to pin down. Now, what I'm trying to say to you and to everybody else is we are, during an environmental document of this complexity, information comes in, it's coming in. Geotechnical information is coming in. Oh my God, we don't have suitable soils here. Let's move it here to avoid them. Let's move it there to avoid it. At this time, we are still working in those alternatives and tweaking them. I can tell you that the community's input has been great, and it actually has influence on making one of the alternatives, what they call yellow line, even better. And it aligns more with what they're looking into it. And the team is also looking into the minimizing, if not avoiding, the throwaway with marrying with those ideas. But we're in the process of developing this. And in the meantime, we have deadlines for the funding of the other project. If we delay the other project, then I think we'll have to go back to the drawing board to get the full funding picture figured out.
And I don't want to lose sight of the public safety factor in this. This is a 110-year-old wood trestle bridge that, if we were to delay, I don't know how many years that would be, and the public safety that would put at risk, that we could have a very bad accident there, is difficult. And I think that many of us from North County Coastal see a lot of promise in the Northern Yellow Line and want to ensure that the line that is chosen is the one that has the least impacts, and that we don't want to throw away any money. But I think Mario is being an engineer because he understands all the complications of everything, the soils, all the changes and everything. But it is possible to leave the bridge where it will be and do the Northern Yellow Line. It is definitely possible. Now, pending more studies, it might have to be tweaked a touch. Would the bridge then have to be maybe altered somewhat? Maybe, and I guess what Mario was saying is that he can't tell you what that cost would be or what percentage chance it would be, but it's possible that would be. But in the meantime, we get safety and we get the seasonal platform, and we're not going to be precluding the Northern Yellow Line, because as we've heard from community members who are deeply impacted by this realignment, it is something that they can embrace and that many of us in North County Coastal are looking at with great promise, as I said. So,
and I'm glad you brought up the comment about the current bridge safety, because that's the other thing I thought I didn't see. I should say I didn't see. It was an analysis and a discussion of what it would cost to keep maintaining that 100-year-old bridge. It's kind of the same argument with dams. 100-year-old dam obviously needs to go. No, some of them are 100 years old. They could be 150 years old. This one has the same possibility. Continued maintenance of that bridge could easily get it another 20 years. That was not discussed. That's another missing part of the puzzle I would have liked to have seen. So I think we are being we're not being good shepherds of the money. And I understand we're talking huge numbers, and probably the cost savings of the Northern Yellow Line would obliterate the waste that's occurring here. I'd just like to see that in black and white in front of us as we make a decision as a board.
Councilmember Edson, who is representing NCTD.
Thank you for your question about maintaining that bridge.
If you could move the mic closer to you, please.
I'm sorry, Chair, I just have a point of order. We've removed 3.4 from the consent calendar. We're staying off the consent calendar, and now we're doing the full hearing on 3.4. Is that what we're doing?
I'm sorry, you blurred your words at the end there. What was the question?
I'm sorry, I thought my words were clear. I am asking on 3.4 on the consent agenda item, which we were on the consent agenda item. Has that been removed from the consent agenda, and now we're doing a full hearing on 3.4, then we're going to go back to consent?
We'll go and we'll see if there's a second for that. I'm gathering there is, but I would like the member who is representing NCTD to weigh in on this before we go to the second, if you wouldn't mind. Councilmember Edson.
Yes, thank you. So when I joined the board of NCTD back in 2016, a decade ago, replacement of this bridge was the #1 priority for the agency. NCTD can follow up with official numbers, but my initial recollection is that NCTD recently completed a $2 million project to maintain the bridge during the past few years. Future maintenance costs are estimated to be $500,000 annually to maintain the bridge. So if we're looking at 10 years or longer to even move forward with relocation of the rails, just doesn't make sense for both the public safety, for the viability of the low sand corridor, which is the second busiest passenger serving rail corridor in the US, to risk the safety and reliability of this corridor.
Very good. Thank you. All right. We have a motion to separate out 3.4. May I have a second, please? Is there a second to do that?
Second.
Okay. That's Councilmember Picus spoke up. All right. So I'll continue to go with our speakers. Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. I actually wanted to pull an item. That's why I was kind of like,
okay.
So I wanted to pull 3.10, but I had a question, and if someone is here from the audit committee or the auditor's office, I could ask, because when this came to executive, there was quite an issue with board policy 39.6.14, and that was that the auditor would then need it was being struck out that the auditor could have independent outside legal counsel, which is what we had originally promised to her. And then we were changing. Oh, there you are. Okay, so have you changed your opinion that you do you not want an outside independent counsel?
No, Mayor, I have not changed my opinion on that.
All right.
We made a modification to the text to just strike the independent legal counsel phrase from Board Policy 39 right now, and that I would confer with general legal counsel on a subpoena. And my understanding is that independent counsel is reviewing the matter at the direction of the chair to just identify that we did do a process on independent legal counsel. It was approved. We did move forward. So I think that that information will be forthcoming. We just wanted to, in the interest of moving this forward, it's fine to strike that phrase for right now, and then we can come back to it.
Okay, as long as you're satisfied, then I'm satisfied.
I am. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Okay.
Big
No other
mistake on my
questions.
part to take a bite of a peanut butter sandwich.
Sorry. You thought I was going to go much longer. I just really needed to know what her answer was going to be.
Sorry, Chair, your words blurred a little bit. I wasn't sure what you said.
Yeah. You speak really fast, Mayor Duncan. I've got people on the board. If you want to speak, please push the zero on your button.
May I offer a reply?
All righty.
Thank you. Ouch, Mayor Duncan, ouch. Just a quick, I want to offer just a quick reply for Mayor Jones, and I do appreciate, Chair of the Audit Committee, Councilmember Fisher here as well. But I do just want to offer, this was a bit of a compromise, and I appreciate that our auditor is here, our independent auditor is willing to accept the direction from the Audit Committee, which was to maintain a level of checks and balances, which was the intent to my request to make that modification to the language in that policy. And I appreciate the collaboration and the approach and the willingness to work together. So that was the reasoning behind the wording there. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now go on to Mayor Sanchez.
Thank you. Move approval.
Of the consent calendar, that minus 3.4.
That's correct. I believe there was a second to pull that. That
Yeah.
would be heard immediately after this, right?
Yes, but I still have speakers.
No, it's for to approve the balance of the.
So we have the motion is to pull 3.4 separately. So we're going to take two separate votes. Okay, we're going to take two separate
motion
votes.
I made was actually to approve everything except 3.4, but
Well,
I'll
okay.
change it to whatever you want it to be.
Okay, we'll do it to vote separately on it. Okay, and
very
then
good.
we'll do that.
Right, so I guess that would be.
And then the second
to
was
that.
by, is that what your understanding was for the second, Councilmember Pikus? Okay.
Oh,
all right.
okay.
All right.
All right, so we don't need to, I don't need to make. the
So
motion.
just hold on, and then, yeah.
Right.
Then we'll go into, anyone, Mayor Gasterlin, you're up next.
Great, thank you. I actually am back to council member. So, so I'm not sure, maybe Alfred could clarify. So we seem to have two motions on the table, and my comment, I believe, is going to the motion to pull 3.4. And so I'll say why I support pulling 3.4. Is that, and what I can do is just say now what my comments would have been on 3.4, because they also support pulling 3.4. I guess this is a point of order.
So we're going to, yeah, so you can speak on 3.4. We're going to have a vote on 3.4 next, and then we're going to go to the rest of the consent calendar. How's that?
I heard that we have a motion to pull 3.4 and that was seconded. So we're going to have to vote on pulling 3.4.
I'll go to Alfred, isn't it?
That's what I heard.
Can I not just do it? Can I not just do it separately?
I thought a
Isn't
member
that
can
the point
simply
of pulling it? The point of pulling it is to vote separately on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the member has pulled 3.4 that has now happened.
Right. Right.
So there's no motion to pull 3.4 that was seconded by Chris.
Yes, so you are free to speak on 3.4. I will then call for the vote on 3.4. And then we will go, I'll ask for a motion on the remaining of the consent calendar. I'll ask for a second on the remaining consent calendar. And if anybody else wants to speak, they can push their zero button and speak, and then we will vote on that, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I was going to say this on consent. Now 3.4 is going to be voted on separately. I hope that all the board members understand that the people of Del Mar are very concerned that 2 of the routes that are potential realignments would go underneath people's homes, double track, double tunnel under people's bedrooms with the rumbling potentially, that's part of the EIR. That's what we'll be learning with the environmental studies. That's where the concern is coming from. And that's why 3 people from Del Mar have come down here today to speak. So what I want to do with my comments is in a pithy way, lay out what I hear as the major concerns. So one is the timing and sequence of construction. In 2024, my understanding from the SANDAG staff to our city staff to me is that phase 1 and phase 2 of the double tracking have already been merged into one project, and that happened. But they were approved in 2017. So that merger happened in 2024. They were approved in 2017 under environmental studies that happened at that time and that had certain phasing. And that phasing was starting the construction at the northernmost end, and then the platform, the area around the platform overlapping phase 1 and phase 2, and then the platform and the bridge that's in phase 2. So one concern that's become crystal clear is making sure that ordering still happens. So the question becomes, is that the case? And I'll just go on. So a commitment to full consideration of a northern yellow line. So the city staff and SANDAG staff have talked extensively. Committing to that consideration, that's part of a future action of this board. That's the NOP that will be amended and reissued together with a future NOI. So that's a separate thing to keep pushing for. Budget impact on other future Transnet projects. $62 million in future STIP funds, which are in the form of interregional transportation improvement projects that are really Caltrans. They're at the state level. And that's the allocation of $62 million in 2029, 2030, and 2031. That will be borrowed from Transnet now and be paid back from STIP in the future, and that will come from the state in the future. So that's the open question that has come up is, what are the other projects, if any, in the future that may be not fundable because the Transnet won't be available until even further in the future? Another question that's come up is this the highest priority STIP project in the region? AB 3090 reimbursement requires that the regional agency find the project that's subject to this borrowing from the future and being reimbursed, find that the project be the region's highest priority among STIP projects programmed for that fiscal year, or if it is unable to make such a finding, that the agency explains why it cannot make the finding. So that came up in the public comments that we heard and the public comments that were submitted. Finally, we've discussed bridge safety and cost of maintenance. In 2017, the Coastal Commission Consistency Certification said, and we heard this from one of the commenters, that SANDAG states that the purpose of the proposed San Dieguito double track is to increase the reliability, operational flexibility, and capacity of the low sand rail corridor in order to add passenger and freight rail service. So Mayor Ehlers brought forward that we haven't actually seen that, but we heard from Deputy Mayor Edson, Councilmember Edson, that it's estimated to be about $5 million over the next 10 years, which would be $10 million over the next 20 years to keep that trestle bridge safe enough. And that, that's an unknown.
We don't know that it would be.
Right, exactly. So we have a problem there, a regional problem. So all of that is said to say that if I were to make a motion on 3.4, the motion I would make is to approve the item with 2 affirmations added. One is that the SANDAG board affirms that the double tracking project will commence with the northernmost construction consistent with former phase one. And the second affirmation, the SANDAG board affirms that moving forward with construction of the bridge will not predetermine the railroad relocation alignment or preclude a northern yellow route. So that would be my motion if I can make a motion, but I'm not so sure that I can.
Can I try to answer a lot of the concerns here? And I'm going to apologize for going really in depth here in my techie world. Okay, you have a $300 million job. A $300 million job that is addressing multiple issues. Every year that we delay a project, the impacts of delay could range between 2 to 10% of cost increase. That's a given. The industry is going up, inflation, having to change things, update the contract documents because each year requirements change, so we need to change this or that, and it's a substantial amount of money and cost. So I just equate that also. You're grabbing what North County Transit is telling you from an operational cost, but if you're going to do a cost benefit analysis, you need to put in the whole piece together. In addition to that, there are, like I said, many colors of money in this project. A grant from the state for the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program for $30 million that is going to expire pretty soon. So we don't begin the project, it goes away. The federal infra grant will have also some requirements, $54 million. So if you keep adding to that, add the increase of cost and then also add the maintenance cost and also add the funds being missing and the further delay, and you may be seeing a project in the same timetable as the loss and realignment project. And we have to understand in infrastructure world, we deal with two budgets and three budgets, we would say. One is the maintenance cost, which is being burdened by North County Transit. But the operational improvement cost, it's what needs to happen right now in your city. You may know that you're gonna be changing fiber optics or whatever. You were doing some underground work in 5 years from now. But if you have a pothole, you're gonna cover that pothole. And you know that later on you will come and probably do something in that city, but you have to deal with the pothole. But you also continue in parallel with your capital improvement project. So those are balancing acts that we need to do. The project will be sequenced that they are starting from the northern part. That is happening. We have to also understand that there's a moment in time where we need to let our technical teams do their work. And this is a little bit what Councilmember Chin was kind of, I think, alluding to. So, and it's not about this project, but big picture. We cannot drive how the environmental, the NEPA and CEQA process is being done via the board. I have to protect this agency and all of you, and I need to assure the independence of my technical team doing their stuff. So I have to also maintain that balance. We also hear from the public and we hear from our leaders, you. But it's a balancing act. And the team, your staff, is working very hard in considering all the elements that have been brought up. There are extremely well-trained and educated professionals that they're the envy in this state, that, believe me, they are taking everything into consideration and trying to balance everything. But to try to drive the process, the vote and everything through a policy meeting that's going to take an hour or two. You can't manage a multi-billion-dollar project in that way. And you have to still address the operational concerns and the needs that the existing infrastructure has. So we're balancing that and balancing the financing. So it's not, oh, it's going to cost $5 million. Yeah, add how much more it's going to cost a year for the delay, between 10 to 30. And then add if something happened to that bridge, then probably everybody's going to run the other way and staff is going to be the responsible that why we didn't take care of that bridge. So there's a balancing act, and I truly, truly respect all the opinions, and the team is working very hard to get that. And this applies to every single project. When I was in, I'm going to deviate a little bit, but when I was the Caltrans deputy and the chief deputy, I used to get a text message with something bad happened or somebody did something bad to themselves. That's not pretty. So we have a responsibility. I also have a responsibility to the public and to my clients, North County Transit, to keep their facilities in an operating way in a safe manner. So it's a balancing act. So here we're working with the finances. If we lose the finances, take it back to the drawing board. 2008 is coming back, and maybe we'll deliver the platform project together with the realignment project. Is that what we really want to do? Or the bridge replacement? Please consider those things.
So I heard two affirmations from you, I believe. So maybe you can confirm.
Sequencing
Yes.
is happening. Does that changes things? No, it's always been that. They're starting from the north, and if something comes up, they'll try to tweak something, but you don't fully go and redesign the project.
Great. Okay.
But they are trying to get that to that point. The other point, like I've mentioned before, the teams are considering everything, and having a structure, having to be chipped, having to have to do something to that 20 years from now or whenever, won't really define which alternative gets selected.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a few people on the board here. Mayor Jones?
I'm sorry, I just had one more comment. Before I was elected as mayor in 2018, I was chair of North County Transit District. It was a safety issue back then. I just wanted to make that comment that we've known for a while that it did need it to be moved forward. So anyway, I just want to make that
Thank you. Councilmember Edson for NCTD?
Yes, so in addition to being a long-serving member of NCTD board, as I mentioned, and having been chair for 3 years of NCTD, I'm also the vice chair of the LoSAN agency. So this is really important to both agencies. This matter was discussed by and recommended by the Transportation Committee, which I think is quite important to this board. The project is critical to maintain a state of good repair and enhance the safety and reliability of the LoSAN rail corridor. As Mario mentioned earlier, replacement of this wooden trellis bridge that's more than 100 years old is necessary for not only public safety, but for fiscal reasons. SANDAG staff anticipate the project will be ready for construction in FY 2027. Taking action at that time will not change the approved scope, purpose, or benefits of the project. It will reduce costs due to delays and will not preclude any of the potential routes south of the bridge from being studied. So I don't know why this has become an issue when this is a long-awaited, long-approved, fully funded project. Thanks.
Thank you. Mayor Minto?
Seeing as I don't live in North County, I don't have a lot of dog in the fight here, but here's what I'm going to say. It's kind of tongue in cheek though, but it goes to, we have a very professional staff, highly trained, like you say. They make decisions on what we really need to do, has to do with safety in many instances. Sometimes board of directors make a decision on what they think sounds better for their constituents. And it's not really prudent for us to fire all the staff and then have the board of directors be the ones making all the, planning and everything. And I also liken this to that, I have to put a new irrigation line in my yard, and I started digging the ditch in 2008. And you know what? I probably almost done with that 10-foot ditch by 2026. Something went wrong somewhere. And I know that I could have bought that pipe probably for about 10 cents a linear foot back then. And now I'm probably paying something like 30 to 60 cents a linear foot. So what went wrong with me getting that project done? Did we talk about it too long? Did we analyze it too many times? So the question really is, what's the true answer? Talk about it, design it, get it done. Save the most money you can. And if all the experts say it's unsafe, then you have to go with unsafe. Because it's nice to realign tracks. It's nice to realign a freeway or whatever. But you got to get that ditch dug, and you got to get the pipe in the hole, and you got to get it connected in order for everything to work. Maybe that's a very simple way of looking at it, but I'm trying to do it in tongue in cheek because I'm saying we're not getting the job done. Let's get it done.
Thank you. Councilmember Pikus, did you have comments? No? Okay. Mayor Sanchez, did you have further comments on this? Keep it with 3.4 right now?
No, I thought we were going to vote on the balance.
Okay, hold on. Then we'll go to Mayor Duncan. Did you have comments?
Yes, a comment and just a quick question. So, and I'm saying this to actually help. So hopefully I'm clear. We had a motion to pull this. That was seconded. That's fine. We're actually doing the item now. That's great. I think Mayor Gasterland asked if she could make a motion with a couple of caveats or additions. So I don't know if that's we're going to do an amended motion or or if that's a new motion or a substitute motion. But if we can maybe get to that and then see if anybody has any objections to her two additions, because if not, we could probably just pass the motion now and be done with 3.4. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be voting on right now. And I'm just saying this to help.
So, yeah. So after hearing from Mario, and you recognize that some of the things that you're asking are basically steering staff in a way that is inappropriate kind of for an agency.
I heard the opposite. I heard Mario agree and affirm both of the things I was asking for.
So, okay, restate them. Maybe I misunderstood what your requests were,
Thank you.
please.
Okay. I'm going to state it as a motion. If it's inappropriate for it to be a motion, I'll let Alfred figure it out. So I move that we approve item 3.4 and that we affirm that the double tracking project will commence with the northernmost construction consistent with former phase 1. And we affirm that moving forward with the construction of the bridge will not predetermine the railroad relocation alignment.
You're correct. And I don't think you need a motion to do that. I think the sequence in the plans is already there. And what I don't want is to put this board in a position later on that, let's say, the yellow line in whatever form was selected, and somebody who wants to argue and sue us for another alternative, that this board was instructing the technical team to certain things. That is my concern.
So with that,
But
I removed the predetermined affirmation. And is there any way whatsoever that construction would start with anything but the northernmost? Under what circumstances could that happen?
It's happening. We're starting. That's the sequence. And you could, I don't know how much more we can do. If you want to put in a motion to mandate us to do it, it's already happening.
Okay. With that, with both of those, I move to approve 3.4.
I will second it.
Okay, all right. So is that a friend? So.
And I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, okay, all right. So then why don't we just go back to having the entire consent calendar being voted on in one motion. So may I have a motion to approve the entire consent calendar, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mayor Sanchez. May I have a second? Councilmember Shin. Okay. Can you please vote? Go. Okay.
There's no such thing.
Imperial Beach. And, oh, Lauren left. Okay, all right, okay. That passes unanimously. All right, good discussion. I think we got a few things clear. I know where we're going. Okay, now we are on to the back office system presentation.
Wow.
Mario.
Let me gather my thoughts. Please give me a second. Oh my God, I lost my notes on that one, so I'm probably. Okay, so this is, we've come with this item multiple times. I think the tone that we really want to take here is looking forward, understanding what happened before, lessons learned, but really with a looking forward theme. We have talked several times. We talked with the board on a 3-step approach. We are here with this 3rd step. We talked about continuing with our back office on a month-to-month basis, how we're collecting funds so we could continue the sustainability and our commitments to our bondholders for the 125, and we could continue also collecting an I-15. We also have parted ways in a mutual agreement with Deloitte on the sole source. And now this is the 3rd step that we had discussed and you had approved, which is going and looking at different partners, how back offices are being done, and looking at best practices. And today is the culmination of that in the beginning of the new step, if you approve it, which is moving forward with TCA. We did a lot of the team will talk about the outreach. TCA is a public agency, so that's why it wasn't done as a procurement, a request for proposals. It's dealing with let's call it a sister agency. But again, it's looking forward and looking at models of how things are being done in the rest of the state. And it's okay that SANDAG doesn't invent its own wheel. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. If somebody's doing it right, let's adopt that and let's do that. So I'll let the team start. I'll probably chime in between the presentations, maybe not. But again, this is going into that 3-step approach that we had agreed to. And this is getting the 3rd one, number 3 of 3. Alex and Naomi, do you want to take it over?
Thank you, Mario. Good morning, board chair and board members. As you know, we have been working on the implementation of the back office system over the past 3 years. So we're here today to propose our proposed approach so we could take action to implement a back office system by the spring of 2027. So as noted by Mario, to achieve this, we have taken a 3-step plan approach that includes extending our existing contract with our existing back office vendor. And this allowed us to continue to process our tolls, which was step 1. And we also concluded our contract with Deloitte, which was step 2. And through this presentation, we'll walk you through our final step. And this final step includes establishing a back office system under a new operational model, which includes partnering with the Transportation Quarter Agency, TCA. So you will see in our presentation that this model will reduce the implementation risk that comes with developing a back office system by leveraging a back office system that TCA has. My name is Alex Estrella, and I'm the Acting Transportation Service Director. And with me today is Naomi Young, our Principal Economist, So together we will decompose what this step 3 means in terms of opportunities, benefits, and costs. Again, as Mario alluded, subject to the discussion today, we will be taking 2 actions to allow us to proceed with this new approach. But with that, I would like to start with just setting a backdrop on our 2 existing facilities, and you've seen this previously in our Board February 13 meeting. So we have our I-15 Express lanes. It is a 20-mile facility that consists of 4 managed lanes that are separated by general purpose lanes with a 16-mile movable barrier. And the key business rules to that is that we could use this facility or carpools and vanpools if you travel on transit for free. But otherwise, if you're a solo driver, you could use the facility and pay a fee, but you need to have a Fast Track account. For our State Route 125 road, it is a 20-mile facility that includes 2 toll booths, located on the southern portion of the State Route 125. And the toll road also includes credit card and cash machines along 14 ramp entry points. Now, customers that use the facility can use it by paying the use of Fast Track account, or they could pay cash or credit card. But customers that use that facility are charged when they enter the facility and then also based on where they exit the facility. Now, just in terms of how we manage and operate our facilities, it's driven by 2 technology components, and I apologize, I'm going to get a little techie here. It includes the roadway, which we reference as a roadway tolling system. And that can describe as the roadside mechanical equipment or the infrastructure that collect the trip data to then determine the toll trip. That trip data then is transferred, and once it's collected, is then sent over to the back office system, which is the second technology component. So once that data is collected and received, the back office system packages it, processes it, and then sends it over to a number of business processes that we have in place. For example, our toll customers and also our toll customer center representatives. So you could see the back office system as the nerve center for processing our toll transactions and our tolls. So that is what brings us to our current status because our back office system serves as a nerve center, and as noted earlier, staff was able to extend the contract with our existing vendor, allowing us to maintain operational continuity, which was step 1 again. And so what this means is that we are able to manage our tolls on these existing facilities. And this has also allowed us to proceed forward with step 3. However, we are also able to meet our bond covenant requirements and also our financial report requirements. We also recognize that there's much more to be done, but since we have achieved a steady state of operations, this has allowed us to take a step back, recalibrate, and also allow us to move forward with step 3. So what is, so in 2025, as we move forward with step 3, staff explored and engaged with other public agencies to gather insight on proven system while also learning about back office system implementation best practices. And that led us to our engagement with TCA. And these efforts included sitting down with them to understand the level of effort necessary from a technical perspective that would require to deliver back office with TCA. And it also allowed us to understand what it would mean to partner with TCA in terms of roles and responsibilities and costs. So what's this new approach? And we'd like to point out to some key components. And the most notable one is that this proposed approach reflects a new operational model that includes a service delivery approach via a pay-as-you-go concept. And this approach allows us to maximize resources and also provide the space for learning, knowledge transfer, and also leverage our expertise and best practices. And this approach also allows us to work together with public agencies, and it's not new, and it comes with experience with TCA. In 2024, TCA partnered with the San Bernardino Transportation Authority to provide customer service center functions and also back office services to the I-10 express lanes. TCA has been in operation since the mid-1980s and serves as the tolling agency for several toll roads within the Orange and Riverside County. TCA's main function and core responsibility focus only on tolling projects. And what that means is that TCA is responsible for the full life cycle of tolling projects, from planning, development, implementation, and operations and management. So based on our assessment and based on our discussions with TCA, we believe that by working with TCA is the best option for establishing a back office system. So with TCA, SANDAG will be able to leverage the proven system that is currently in operation, and we expect to see some benefits by reducing during the project implementation. For example, under the implementation, the benefits will come by leveraging TCA's experience during the data migration and system integration. But also by working with TCA, SANDAG would take advantage to learn and also increase our knowledge and skills. And this experience will help us inform our work on future Express Lanes projects. By leveraging TCA's back office system, we will also provide the benefits for improving our business practices to be in alignment with tolling industry best practices. And this includes standards related to reporting and customer service functions. Simply put, by partnering with TCA and by leveraging their back office system, I believe that this approach will ultimately help us better understand all toll operations and be better positioned to inform our future projects. So here's just a snapshot of the proposed scope and functionalities by leveraging TCA's back office. But at the end of the day, SANDAG will maintain and continue to serve as a toll authority for our facilities, including toll setting, and SANDAG will maintain responsibility for toll operations and customer service center, and we will continue to manage our toll roadway systems. But in brief, in terms of functionality, SANDAG will enhance its back office services ranging from traditional customer account management to toll transactions and financial reporting. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Naomi to speak about the cost, but before I do so, I just want to set some context on the proposed structure based on this new approach. The cost is based on two components. The first one is a capital implementation cost to stand up the back office system with TCA totaling approximately $7 million. And the second one is the annual operation cost that will kick in once we go live, and this includes a pay-as-you-go fee structure based on cost per transaction. But with that, I'll turn it over to Naomi.
So as Alex mentioned, the TCA agreement involves both capital project and operating costs. The net effect is a savings. However, the impact on each is different. The annual cost of operating the toll road is expected to increase as we move to a fee-for-service model that is based on the volume of transactions managed in the back office system. At the same time, there is savings on the capital project side where SANDAG had originally budgeted for a custom development of a back office system. I'm going to walk you through these implications, starting with the operating costs. The operating budget for the toll roads covers cost of managing and maintaining the two facilities, including customer service and toll collections. For the coming fiscal year, the operating budget is estimated to be $51.3 million. The pie chart shows how this estimated budget is distributed among four large buckets: debt and pass-through, overhead, labor, and vending services. The left side of the pie chart, which represents costs that are largely invariant to how we manage the toll roads, you can see that's about half of our operating budget. The right side of the pie is directly related to how the toll roads are managed and operated. The two categories, vendor services and labor, include things like SANDAG staff time, customer service, account management, and service agreements for the roadside equipment. The TCA agreement directly affects the vendor category, which is only 27%. SANDAG will pay the annuals, moves to a pay-as-you-go approach where we pay an annual service fee plus a per transaction fee that reflects the type and volume of transactions that are processed in the back office system. The per transaction fee ranges from 4 cents to 65 cents and will replace some of our current costs like the back office maintenance agreement, mailhouse services, account fees for transponder and credit card transactions. With these changes, the overall net effect is an estimated increase to our fiscal year 27 operating costs. The estimated increase is $1.2 million. I do want to point out that while not estimated here, TCA's back office system and services is expected to deliver cost efficiencies for our operating budget. As Alex mentioned, this new approach will facilitate adopting industry best practices in reporting and account management, which should flow through to the labor side of the operating budget. So while I've showed you a high-level overview, this chart details what costs would be incurred in the operating budget under a TCA agreement. As Alex mentioned, there's two components, the annual service fee and a per transaction fee. The service fee is $790,000 and will be shared between the two toll roads. In addition to the annual service fee, SANDAG will also pay for each transaction that is managed in the back office system. The agreement identifies 4 categories of transactions, and importantly, these categories are tailored to SANDAG's toll roads, and the fee reflects the level of handling and processing that's expected in the back office system. For example, the fee for credit card and cash transactions where the toll is paid on the roadside is 4 cents, much less than the 13 cents for ETC transactions, which are associated with a transponder where the trip has to be matched to a fast track account and recorded and how it draws down on an account balance. Given the level of trips expected in fiscal year 27, the expected cost for TCA service is $5.4 million. Again, when considering the agreement eliminates other vendor costs in the operating budget, the net increase is $1.2 million. Okay. The increase in the operating budget is offset by savings in the capital project side. On the capital project side, SANDAG has budgeted $33.7 million for the development of a custom back office system. Around $12.5 million has been spent to date, leaving just over $21 million in the budget. SANDAG estimates that it needs $15.8 million for a full delivery of the back office system with TCA. As Alex is going to provide more detail on this, but this includes the $7 million to cover the one-time implementation fee for TCA, as well as SANDAG's labor, support services, and contingency. Reallocation of the existing capital projects funds will cover the projected $15.8 million, which means no net increase to implementing the back office system. So this chart is going to provide more of a holistic understanding of how TCA impacts the toll road operating and capital costs. The main takeaways are that the operating budget is expected to rise, resulting in a higher per transaction cost for SANDAG. The increase is 3 cents per transaction. This higher operating cost is offset by savings on the capital project side, where the savings is roughly 10 cents per transaction. As a result of the higher operating costs and the lower capital project costs, SANDAG's per transaction cost falls from $1.81 to $1.73. When we think about costs, it's also how costs are expected to change. It's also important to consider that the agency's ability to pay. SANDAG's toll roads are projected to collect around $62 million in the coming fiscal year. On a per transaction basis, this averages to about $1.95. The difference between the average revenue per transaction and the average cost per transaction represents the buffer that the agency has to address any risk of unanticipated costs. With TCA, this buffer is bigger. Conservatively, we've estimated costs rising without assumptions on the potential cost efficiencies that come with leveraging TCA's industry expertise and without assumptions on how adopting industry best practices could lead to more revenue, especially with violations. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Alex.
Thank you, Naomi. So included in the staff report, also noted here in the slides, some key terms that are proposed to serve as a foundation for helping us advance our relationship with TCA. And a key component of the terms is based on the assumption that SANDAG will go live by spring of 2027 by accepting TCA's business rules and also setting the conditions on the data migration efforts. So just to provide some clarity on that. So under this approach, rather than going at it alone to recreate our new business rules, we will work with and leverage TCA's business rules offered by their back office system and bring them in alignment to our existing business practices. And this approach will also bring us into alignment with industry best practices. And for the data migration, as part of our early assessment that I talked about, when we engage with TCA, in order to contain possible risks with data migration, the terms are based on a migration of critical data that will allow us for a smooth transition and reduce impacts to our existing customers. So for example, we will be migrating key information related to their historical trip and account information. But to further reduce some risk, the data migration will be limited to active accounts for the past 3 years and will not include uncollected fees. We'll also note violations. And the agreement also reaffirms that the focus will be on the I-15 and State Route 125. And also included here is that both TCA and SANDAG work together to achieve in order to report on. It also ensured progress during the implementation, and not included in the staff report, SANDAG and TCA also provided the flexibility to add new facilities in the future. Now, something that I like to point out here is that this agreement is not like your traditional private vendor agreement, where the traditional practice would be to set the cost in advance for future years. This agreement and approach contemplates, and it's grounded by cooperation between SANDAG and TCA. And while we do not anticipate running into challenges by partnering with TCA, we did work through some provisions in the agreement that allows us to conclude the relationship during the implementation or when we go live during operations. So we are here today to request the approval with 2 actions that allow us to proceed with this new approach by delivering a back office system with TCA. And these include authorize this chief executive officer to execute the agreement. And we're also requesting your approval for a cost neutral project budget amendment that would reallocate approximately $15.8 million from the 2 existing capital improvement projects. And just to provide a little more insight to that, again, the reallocation of $15.8 million will come from 2 existing capital improvement projects that totaled when we started working on this, $33.7 million. And we would like to use the unspent funds from these 2 projects as noted as attachments 1 and 2 of your staff report for the 2 new capital projects that we would like to set up to deliver this back office system. And these 2 new capital projects are noted as attachments 3 and 4. But with the $15.8 million includes approximately $7 million, 15.8 million includes approximately, sorry, I went too fast. Okay, it does. Sorry, apologies. Includes approximately $7 million of the TCA upfront for the one-time implementation costs, as Naomi alluded, and it also includes some staff costs for the consultant staff support, approximately 6.8, and it also includes approximately $2 million for contingency cost. So in terms of next steps, and upon your approval of these actions, SANDAG will work with TCA to carry out the implementation of some key milestones to ensure that progress is made. And these include, for example, developing a project plan to schedule that will provide a little bit more detail to identify key project effort dependencies, deliverables, but also required coordination across the technical teams. We will also review and complete several technical documents like a configuration plan, refinements to our system requirements and business rules. We will also develop a data migration plan to carry out the data migration and testing. Staff will also carry out a marketing plan to help inform the messaging and also the outreach efforts to minimize the impacts to our customers as we transition to TCA's back office. And SANDAG staff will also bring a future item to discuss options to help address or mitigate our standing uncollected fees. With that, we shared a lot of information, and thank you for your patience. And now we're open to any questions.
So there's a lot of information. I think to try to make it a little bit more succinct is we're asking to move forward with a partnership with TCA. The budget amendment is basically grabbing the money that was or moving the money that was on the Deloitte back office contract and apply it to this contract. So we create a new project so we can follow the accounting appropriately. And from Naomi's points, I will try to correct me if I'm saying something wrong. On the prior item, we talked about different colors of money and we talked about how you address different projects. from maintaining an operating budget as well as a capital project budget to build something. So here, basically, the nutshell of it is there is savings in the capital, meaning it will be cheaper to implement, and it would be, and that will be basically moved to a little bit of the operations, and it basically makes it almost a cost neutral when you compare it straightforward. And like Naomi said, there are a lot of opportunities that she cannot quantify at this moment and that we don't know, that we think that will be materialized by moving into this, both from a transparency point of view, but also from a collection point of view. This will probably set us also in other exercises in a much better position. The broader express lane discussion that was had, that we had the last board meeting, as well as the future discussions that we would have on the status of repayment, the SR 125. Because suddenly we will have a better cash flow, a better understanding of the cash flow. We are moving forward also with a better understanding with the cost. So it just works. It's basically a revenue neutral, and then moving from the prior project, the funds, to a new project. And it's trying to do business like the rest of the state is doing business.
Very good. Thank you so much. We're going to go to public comments now, and then we'll move to member discussion. Michael.
Thank you. We have one in person. If you are online, please raise your hand now. First in person is Cesar Javier.
Cesar and Purita. Our input is from public layman's thought. SANDAG has the money. SANDAG has the power. SANDAG has the highest intellectual resource, human resource. Why do we have to pay passing on this road we choose to trek? I thought Uncle Sam through SANDAG will give us a nice, safe highways. What about us who could only afford this way? I don't see the logic on this. And if ever this is good, when are you going to stop the toll fee? I asked my dentist, why did you vote yes for this? Oh, because I wanted to travel without traffic. I think this is environmental justice, right? Looks like only those who have can travel the expressway. Can we not stop this toll? Is not our tax enough to build an express lane that is for all? Can we not do that? Or do we have an expressway going to heaven by virtue of money?
Thank you. Your time has expired. We have 8 public comments online. The list is now closed. We'll start with Blair Beekman, followed by Paul the Bold. This is item 4, tolling back office system cooperative agreement and project budget amendment.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thank you a lot for this item, important item. To quickly mention, from my previous public comment that you had a good discussion today about, I hope you can be considering high-speed rail issues for all of these low sand corridor issues as well, to quickly mention that. For this item, what I'm interested is in my consent calendar public comment, the future that we apply tech accountability practices to all of this this item sounds like it's going to have a lot of data collection and statistical work involved, and you're going to need a lot of stat taking to figure things out. And what's the tech accountability portion of this process? Like I said previously, if you practice tech accountability well, your other practices will follow in good form. Things just will naturally present themselves more easily and clearly and openly, I feel. That's how important and helpful tech accountability work can be. And policy making, city of San Diego and many cities in California, they're working that, they have to inventory all their technology now, the surveillance and data collection tech. So when they do that, they have a clear report every year how the technology is doing, what it is doing, what it's capable of doing. For San Diego to apply similar good skills to this sort of item and just be really clear on what the tech is going to be doing, what it's going to be about, how it can serve the public, what is its purpose in serving the public, to make all those things clear and understandable with each other, it'll just make your current process and these questions, I think, go a lot easier and a lot more understandable. That's my tech accountability stuff. Good luck with this item. Thank you.
Next is Paul the Bold, followed by Gambler. This is item 4. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
It's great that the project cost would go down from 33 mil if you managed it yourselves to 15 mil. But you got to remember you're affecting millions of people. So, it's not only the money. Contingency fees at 12.66% are pretty high. Not sure why contingency fees are even needed for staff and consultants. TCA has pretty poor reviews, 1.5 out of 5 stars for 1,200 reviews. This one is typical. Absolutely hard website, impossible to pay, increased fees over posted fees. I've been a long-time Fast Track patron, never had any problems with the way the automated process works, and I'm a fan of Fast Track. First thing that upset me was when they changed the transponders, and after a month of using Fast Track Lane, which is free for carpools, I was billed for all use because I did not have a new transponder. Second thing, my mother used the new system on the 73 being cashless. Tried to pay online and the system was too difficult for her to use. She asked me to help and I thought it was probably her mistake. No, the web payment system is the worst commerce site that I ever have used. In addition, the one-way toll was $7.30, almost 50% higher. Midday, no traffic time. Toll roads should be ashamed of their service. The price for SANDAG.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Gambler, followed by Andrew Ebbing. This is item number 4. Gambler, you're self-muted. Moving on to Andrea Ebbing, followed by Marco Espinoza.
Hi, it's Andrea Ebbing. It's impossible to pay the 125 toll roads at the end. Everybody just sits there and waits for some kind of confirmation for you to pull your card out. And my last comment is, I just want to know if Mario works for us or Mexico. Thank you.
Next is Marco Espinoza, followed by Truth.
Hello, Marco Espinoza. As a SANDAG account holder, and I do have a transponder, the adjustable one. My question is, are we going to still be able to keep our current online account at the website. It didn't seem like anything like that was changing, but I just wanted to make sure. The website is a little clunky, but I mean, it works. That's all. Thank you.
Next is Truth, followed by Consuelo.
With a looking present theme, another year, another delay, another hot mess meeting off the wheels from SANDAG. I told you we're just getting started. How can a $2.2 billion debt-filled transportation agency with extremely well-paid and overpaid staff fail to be able to connect roadside equipment and a back office system for over 3 years? Isn't transportation supposed to be SANDAG's specialty? How many tax dollars have we lost because this board allows staff to mess up and lie? I need to do PRAs to gather the total loss on the original debt purchase, A to Z, Deloitte, Eton, lost revenue, mischarge revenue, staff time, equipment, backroom deals, and now this $15.8 million contract with the transportation corridor agencies. How come nobody's talking about permanently removing the toll on the 15? Because it's just like the 125. People have to use it in order to leave their neighborhoods, yet they're silent because there's no political careers to be advanced on the backs of the taxpaying residents. Why does the communications propaganda budget need to increase by 7 times, up to $525,000? This toll fiasco has revealed that Senate continues to obfuscate data and information while coming up with countless excuses to create an even bigger bureaucracy filled with sole source monopoly contracts for dumb ideas they assured us they could fulfill. What if TCA says even they can't fix SANDAG's issues? What's Plan C? AB 3090? Chair Lisa has suggested to the public that SANDAG has a specific jurisdiction, and that here SANDAG is expanding jurisdiction to San Joaquin Hills, Orange County, San Bernardino, and beyond, with 2+ boards of directors far from the areas affected. See, this was the entire agenda behind regional governance, to remove local representation and control in legitimate government, to be replaced with unloyal regional head idiots who sign over our tax dollars with zero research or accountability. Just get it done, right, Minto? SANDAG failed and is now shirking responsibility by throwing their bad ideas like tolls onto other agencies. Agenda dictator Lisa, ease up. I support the tech accountability free expressway to heaven where the only toll is rejecting evil. Try it, SANDAG. Thank you.
Next is Consuelo, followed by the original draw. This is item number 4.
Okay, so that was a scary presentation. Actually, it was sad, really, because the people who will be affected and paying for this are entirely in the dark again. From the capital implement costs to the annual operation costs, which is, quote, end quote, expected to increase as usual. And someone pointed out something regarding 4 large buckets. Is that for the blood you're sucking out of the people who can barely keep food on their table? Yeah. Okay. So again, this is all paid for by we the taxpayers, the tax cattle indentured servants, money, 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 money. And in the end, you're going to do what you're being told to do. That's the sucky part. But as I warned the people at CARB yesterday, you're not above what you help implement. Systems built without transparency and trust will not spare your families, your communities, your loved ones. If policies are being shaped by interests beyond the people of California, that is a betrayal of public service. But you have a choice. You can be part of real change for a better system and create heaven on earth. So, yeah, think about it. And also, please take the time out to research the Brown Act. And, you know, it's very, it's sad that you guys think you can lower people's hands. Only people that pay attention who are participating in these shenanigans, you know, you don't even want to hear them. And that's evident. So please see what you're doing before you get in trouble, more litigation. And yeah, you don't really want our input, and it's obvious. But people do take the time out.
Thank you. Your
to
time has
research.
expired. Next is the original draw, followed by Gambler. This is item number 4.
Mario, I swear you blew your load getting that money on the last item. It's so interesting to see the way you guys talk about stuff because you guys completely bleed the life out of people. And that's why you have colors of money, because your money that you guys spend is red for blood money. And you talk about bond holder commitments that need to be met for the I-25. So you guys put us in debt, charge us to do things, and put us back in debt that we have to pay that debt back. And then you want to get into business with other companies that we have to pay for that so that you can come and charge us just to, use the roads and travel. So basically we are paying so that you can, control our movements. And it's just really sad because you guys have wasted so much money on these contracts, and it just shows the fraud, waste, and abuse that's taking place, and that you are not capable of doing any kind of tolling. And so anything that you are planning for the future should absolutely not happen, and this should be shut down because you guys are engaging in contracts with, ETAN and HIT, NTB that you guys had to fire because of the things that were going on. Then you get into a sole source contract with Deloitte, which you gave them $28.7 million. Did you get any of that back? Did you claw back those funds? No, you just got rid of them. And then now you're going to this other one. How much money did HNTB and them get? Like 12 million before you guys fired them? And this transportation corridor agency, you realize that they are actually contracting with HNTB, right? You know that? With AI assessments to advance operations, which it's funny because AI hallucinates, which we know about, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. But it's like, how can you fire one entity and then engage with another entity that is engaged with the entity that you fired, trying to get them to advance operations when all they were doing was impeding the operations? So you guys are just actually further, exposing yourselves and the fraud that you engage in, and just, all the money that you guys want because you're money whores. And yeah, you're going to pass this and we're going to have more problems down the future. Looking forward to it.
Last public comment is Gambler. This is item number 4.
Gambler here. I thought the last time I showed up here, you guys were talking about removing the toll roads off of 125. Apparently, that was all bullshit, wasn't it? Much like when you guys wanted to go ahead and do mileage tax. When you didn't get that, you decided to use the toll roads to go ahead and get the money you want. So basically, this is a way for you guys to make money without taking it straight from us, right? You could go in and set the cost no matter what you're planning on doing. How many times did you have to repaint the roads so you could get the AI cards to understand them? I talked to many of the workers and the people that are doing it, and they said the same thing. Now, why don't you guys go ahead and invest into things, let's just say recycling plastic, turning it into diesel, byproduct is low-grade carbon, that could be turned into graphene and make our roads stronger, build up infrastructure, and then you don't have to tax the hell out of us, right? Oh, no. You guys are planning on giving that to the Congress so that they can make it private sector, and then, you could extract from us on both ends, right? Do you guys know who you work for? Do you know who elected you? Because you guys are dumbasses. I mean, none of you want to go in and address the fact that I could go ahead and re-register anyone I want and vote for them. You guys don't even want to ignore the fact that I could go through all the mailboxes and change the contents of those envelopes before they reach the registrar of voters office. You want to ignore the fact that Nick Shirley went ahead and pointed out 109 ballots going to one place that were voted by a single household. But we don't want to go and address actual problems and actual solutions because you're trying to extract from us because you don't know what the fuck you guys are doing. Ain't that true?
Commenter, this is item number 4.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. You want to steal money from us. I'm just saying that there's other alternatives where you don't have to take our money and you could actually generate money and fix our infrastructure, but you don't fucking want to do that.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Thank you, Michael. We're now on to member comments. Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you for the presentation. And thank you to all the staff for the work that you guys have put into this agreement. In 2024, I authored an op-ed in the San Diego Union Tribune on an independent audit of SANDAG, which exposed long-standing issues with the management of State Route 125 toll system. The audit did detail that the lack of due diligence that led to a $28 million flawed contract for management of said toll system. An outside vendor failed to correct problems identified in a previous contract, leading to a revolving door of vendors hired to fix prior vendors' issues. Now, when roads like SR 125 are mismanaged, the cost is ultimately borne by those who pay the toll, which is the end user. Looking forward, the back office system is a core step towards strengthening SANDAG's capacity, compliance, and also our reputation. It helps with continuity, but most important, it helps to plan for the complete payment of SR 125. And I want to reiterate that the complete payment of the SR 125 is the final goal. South County residents are still being charged twice for the same road. They paid the money through their taxes that SANDAG used to purchase SR 125, and they pay for it every single time they use it. Now, I am pleased to see the role of interagency partnership in this agreement with transportation corridor agencies. A public agency has a different level of mutual interest than a vendor looking to secure a contract. I see the maximization of expertise and also the joint pursuit of operational efficiencies. Now, both of these qualities bring us closer to having the operational strength in the back office system to be able to redirect our energy to other issues like trestle bridges. So I am supportive and I'm happy to make a motion to approve staff's recommendation with the caveat, and I will not add this to my motion, that was my motion, but I personally, or I think it would behoove this board maybe through the transportation committee to hear, and I haven't heard it, you guys might have heard it, but the equity analysis, the PID, and also the repayment budget of the SR 125.
Just to address that. Oh, okay.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah. We're working on the equity analysis. I haven't been briefed either. So it's being done by Caltrans and we're working with them. And actually I was going to have a meeting next week about it. So that's being produced. The project initiation document that's going to be developing the estimate for state of good repair. We're negotiating those numbers in order to we can reduce the exposure for the agency. So that's getting closer. So we should be coming with an update to TC and to all the interested members as well as the board on reporting where we are with those elements. Just give us a couple more time to line everything up. And it's also going to help Naomi kind of project the cash flows based on if this agreement gets approved, so we can put in everything in the ledger and give you a realistic snapshot.
If I'm not mistaken, the PID was, and the equity analysis was approved in 2024. So it's been a good 2 years. I'm going to be out of this job in December. Some people are happy about it. Some people are sad. But I would like at least for me to be able to look at it as an elected official before December 2026.
I think we're coming around this spring, if my memory serves me right, to give you an update.
And just in general, I think the TC would be a good place for us to have yearly updates on the 125 repayment. But good job on this. I know it was a lot of work. I know there was a lot of meetings and a lot of research into who we were going to utilize. So, so congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Molina.
Thank you very much, Chair Huebner. Thank you to staff for the presentation, Alex and Naomi. I just had a couple of clarification questions. First, on the pie chart, slide 8, the debt and pass-through costs, the 17.2 million, is that the debt that is owed on the SR 125?
Yes, so the debt reflects our annual payments for that. And then the pass-through costs are things that we have to reimburse, I think Caltrans for. on the 115.
Oh, okay. So it also includes some debt on the 15?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, there's no debt on the 15.
Okay.
It's a category that includes debt and pass-through
Got
costs.
it. On slide 10, and then I'm glad that you showed the information differently on slide 14. What is spent from what is budgeted, the 33.7 million, the 12.5 million, I was wondering whether that had already been applied to the TCA amount, but then slide 14 is actually more clear. So if you can go over to slide 14. And my question has to do with of the amount that has been spent, which is the 12.5, where has that money gone? Because my question was, has that gone to TCA? And this slide here shows no, it hasn't. Right.
Yeah, just to clarify, those are the funds that we spent over the past 2 years when we entered into a contract under to the old CIPs when we had Deloitte on board, and that included working and also payments to Deloitte and staff time and consultant services. So that was based on the last 2 years. But also we also delivered a couple documents and we developed a system regs and business rules. So we did some foundational work.
So, okay, I get that, but none of that money relates to this new back office direction that we're going in.
Correct.
Now that we're going in a new direction, I mean, thankfully, it's within the budget that has already been approved for this entire endeavor. But it is apart from what has already been spent. None of what has been spent to date applies to this new direction.
That's correct.
Okay. And one other question I had is actually on the next slide. Slide 11. And it has to do with the operating budget or the operating cost, that figure in red, the 34. So I understand the figure we just talked about for TCA is 15.8. That's to implement the system, right? The cost of putting it together. And then beyond that, there is an annual operating cost, which right now we are estimating that to be 34.6 million. Can you explain what operating cost means?
Sure. So our operating costs are the annual expenses that SANDAG incurs to operate the 2 toll roads. So this includes all of SANDAG staff, customer service, maintenance of the roads themselves, accounts. So that's our operating budget. It's year over year incurring. So you can just think of it like if you run a business, this is what you have to pay to your staff to keep the lights on and to deliver the services that are required. In addition to that, SANDAG has the capital projects. Capital projects are budgeted separately. You can think of them as like large investments to deliver an asset that then we use and manage over time. And so when we're describing the TCA agreement, it has several components. So one is the capital project side, which is what Alex was mentioning. It's 7 million to them directly for the back office, plus the support services, which came to 15.8. That's one thing. You can think about that as like, it's a cost that's incurred over multiple years, and then it's done because you've delivered the asset. On the operating side, TCA enters into that as well. So every year we will pay TCA an annual service fee of $790,000, plus we pay a per transaction fee for each transaction that goes into the back office service, the back office system. So what I was trying to do is break down the 2 buckets where it goes into how we think about our budgeting. Did that answer your question?
I think it does. And that cost in red, that is offset by the folks that pay the fees to use the road.
So yes, I mean the fees that are paid on the road is SANDAG's revenue. We use that revenue to cover our operating costs, which includes paying the debt, as well as the maintenance of the roads and the facilities, and also for our capital project side, which is to deliver this back office system.
Okay, let me ask it this way. This figure in red, is that included in the one bar for the budget for this project?
No, so the bars is only
For the
addressing
CIP.
the back office fixed costs,
Mhm.
where the reason why you're not seeing the 15.8 line up with what's on there is because we took the 15.8, since it's delivering essentially an asset, and spread it over 5 years to think about the life of us using that.
Okay, so it is two different buckets.
It is two different buckets, yes.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. So my last question has to do with the future of, like Mario mentioned, express lanes and the fact that we're considering adding, infrastructure to our current roads and making some of those express lanes into more toll lanes. None of that is part of what we're talking about right now. So TCA right now isn't, it's too early to even consider what, any of that is going to look like, or even if TCA is going to be sort of the operator there, and any of these numbers, if that applies to any of that.
I can answer that one. Normally, to plan ahead a project of this magnitude, back office, whatever system, is about 3 to 4 years lead, express lanes. So we have left the flexibility. If it's a good deal, and if it makes work, we left the flexibility to add express lanes. In the near future, you will probably be seeing here at the board, I don't know if it's a CIP or a budget amendment or something, where we are going to fund that 3-year effort or 2-year effort to evaluate what would be the best alternative for a regional transportation system, a regional back office. And it may look like TCA. It may also be that there's another opportunity for the board to consider. So we're leaving the door open, but at the same time, in the near future, you will be hearing about the regional back office system. That's kind of even a further forward looking and planning what could potentially happen with express lanes and what will be the system that will be supporting it. So yes, there is a possibility, but we're also doing our due diligence far in advance to bring in the different options and evaluate them.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, the ability to be flexible, the ability to think, future thinking. And that clarifies my questions. Did you get a second on that, Chair?
Did what?
Motion? There is a second. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gastelum.
Thank you. My question is also on slide 11. I really liked this per transaction breakdown because it just made it so much easier to do the math. So the gain here that I'm seeing is in this back office system fixed costs going from 21 cents down to 10 cents. And one question I have here is, since the BOS fixed cost is annualized over 5 years, does that mean that 5 years from now, that 21 cents or 10 cents no longer exists? So that the buffer will be even bigger?
I'll speak to the technical component. So we did estimate that the value here, the value proposition for us is that it relieves us for major capital investments over the 5 years, right? So what Naomi did, then she essentially normalized it over 5 years. But the idea here is that, we've got to set ourselves up. So if we do need to make a future investment on a huge capital investment, I think there's an opportunity there because we will have some lessons learned. Otherwise, we would go into another capital improvement project where we would spend minimum between 11 and 18 million dollars. And based on our lessons learned, again, do we want to engage in that? Is there a better opportunity where we bring somebody that is, has more expertise, but also we could gain that expertise?
Great. And then on slide 14, back to that one. That's the horizontal bar graph. Yes, that one. How does ongoing payment to ETAN for the old system fit into this? Is that part of that 12.5 million, or is that in addition to the 33.7 million that we see here?
That is part as part of the operational budget, so it's not part of the capital improvement project. So it does not fit in here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fisher.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful for this. I think we're one step closer, hopefully getting out of tolling operations completely here at SANDAG. Lessons learned is that we're probably not very good. It sounds like we're getting better by having good partners to keep us in the right direction. Currently, what are the deficiencies with our current system? We know the background of it, but like just currently as we sit today.
I can begin that one, and then
I was going to offer a
back
couple
to
of
it.
examples. Warren.
Look, a good part of why we got a qualified opinion in our audit was because some of the items with the back office weren't that clear. So that's a good example of we are collecting funds, and we have to keep collecting funds until we can move to another system. But it's probably going to bring in and we are in a better spot now. I'm hoping we can get out of the qualified opinion. We're in a better spot on data reporting and data bringing it in, but it's extremely labor intensive. So this could be an example of being a little bit more automated. I think there were discussions, and I'm not an expert on this, so Alex will correct me. DMV holds, and something that Naomi's slide, the prior one that was being discussed with you, Councilmember Gasterland, the comparisons between the TCA and the existing situation, our costs are based on the same revenues. They're probably going to have more efficiencies in collections with the new system. We can't quantify that, similar to the prior item that I couldn't quantify exactly what the bridge throwaway could be because we don't know it exactly. But we are quite confident that there is an incredible opportunity to be able to increase our or reduce our leakage, let me put it that way. So those are just some of the items that are opportunities with the new system that are probably not occurring with the existing system. Again, the existing system, we've worked very hard to get it to a good place, but there's always an opportunity to be better.
And I appreciate that because I think that's what we're looking for is to get better and better. With TCA, what percentage of current revenue do you think that they'll be receiving? I know it's per transaction that they get compensated, but overall revenue, what have you thought about what that looks like?
So, yes, if I'm understanding your question, essentially you can think about it as we're collecting, what did I say for revenue? So we're collecting 62 million in revenue. And for TCA, when we average across the different types of transactions that we would be paying them on an annual basis, it's about 5.4 million. So you can think of it as they're getting 5.4 million of our revenue.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I must have missed that somewhere in the presentation or in the agenda stuff. I just didn't see that. And overall, when it comes down to liability, who holds the key to the liability if there's any big issues?
Great question. I'd like to defer to our counsel.
Amberlyn Deaton, Legal Counsel. Thank you for the question. So the agreement that's in front of you today, or the proposed agreement, is essentially an agreement between TCA and SANDAG, but it also contemplates that TCA, via its own vendor, will amend its vendor contract to add SANDAG as an additional insured and indemnified party. And of course, the parties with TCA, we've been working cooperatively to negotiate terms that, set up a dispute resolution processes and things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Last question I have is, as far as volume of the current systems that they operate for TCA, what does that look like in terms of what we would see on the 125 and the 15 currently?
My understanding is that I would say we're about 20% of volume compared to TCA's volume.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to hear.
And also to add that they're providing the same service they will be providing to us to San Bernardino. They are working in a similar agreement with Sacramento, the YOLO 80. So they're working with other regions. They're already working with a region and working with other regions to get to the point where we're also wanting to get.
Great. I was hoping that Mario was going to come out earlier and say that this system we're looking to use for OTime Mesa East and for everything we do in the future, because I'm not sure how many times we want to talk about back office systems, but I think this is a wonderful system, a step in the right direction. Obviously, gets us to level with somebody who's well experienced and local, and that makes a big difference. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras.
Thank you so much. I have a question. You said this was like the 3 of 3 part series, and I haven't been here for some of the other stuff. But I am just curious, looking at the next step slide, I don't see any point in the timeline of integrating a citizens oversight planning in this process. And my question is just, where would the best place be to insert such a strategy? Is that germane to this discussion? Is it going to be potentially something that we can discuss in a future discussion? Just kind of curious of the context, since I'm coming into this at the very end.
That question is well suited in the aspect that, as we've been saying, this entire for the probably remainder of the year, we'll be talking express lanes, tolling, and as it relates to how we collect tolls, this is the mechanism. But you are the body and of who selects the toll rates, as well as selects discounts, no discounts, strategies, right? So I think that there's going to be multiple discussions, and maybe part of what Councilmember Moreno brought up on the equity study, in seeing what that brings up, but also during the express lane conversation, the executive committee has already talked about different groups, and one is a community engagement group. So I think that could be one of those grassroots where we can present a lot of the studies that are being done, and then the board can consider, as the toll authority on these facilities as well as future facilities, what strategies do you want to consider in tolling? And those strategies are an array, right? And I'm not just talking discounts, but there's also service and other types of strategies. So I think during the year, there's going to be an opportunity to have the discussion.
Okay. And it sounds like there's still some pieces that will be coming to the board so that we can have a more fully fledged discussion on what oversight looks like or community engagement. So thank you for that. I think this is definitely a step in the right direction. The bar was really, really low though. So, but I do see this as a step in the right direction. And, I'm just not a fan of toll roads. I'm not a fan of induced demand. I'm a fan of connecting people with affordable transportation so that they can get to the places that they need to go on a daily basis. But I appreciate a lot of work that has been done to address a lot of the concerns that the community has. But those are my only comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Minto.
I have a question about financing, and this goes back to what Vivian was talking about, and I think somebody else has said it over time, that people that travel on the 125 in South Bay are paying twice for it. Did we get a bond to buy that originally way back in 2011? And the reason why I asked that is because if it was, because I don't think we just took those millions of dollars out of the bank account and said, here you go. Usually there's a bonding mechanism or something similar to that, and then you charge tolls so that you make the payment. So it wouldn't be paying twice because.
Well, I wasn't here. I will need to go and do some research, but my memory of what I've learned and all that, there was an action to take off when Transnet was passed, there was 2 HOV lanes for the 805 put in there. And the board took an action at that time. And again, oh, Don, you're here. You have better recollection. I wasn't here.
Yes. So I was also not here when SANDAG acquired it, but I was working diligently.
Can you move the mic forward and speak
I
up?
was
please?
working diligently on it from the Caltrans perspective.
Still have to speak up and move the mic forward. Thanks.
Okay. So when SANDAG acquired the facility out of bankruptcy, there was an ordinance amendment, and it did amend the 805 project. It allowed Transnet to loan funds to the facility or to acquire the facility, in addition to acquiring a TIFIA loan, a federal TIFIA loan that the original toll concessionaire had on the project. So at the time, SANDAG acquired the facility. It was paid for with Transnet funding and with assumption of the TIFIA loan. Years later, so we reduced the tolls. This board elected to reduce the tolls at the time, get the facility up and operating to a profitable level in order to refinance in 2017 at much more favorable borrowing terms than that TIFIA loan had. The Transnet loan was repaid to the Major Corridor Program, and the TIFIA loan was refunded and refinanced with the 2017 bonds that we carry on the project today.
Okay, because that's where I'm going, is that it's the fees, I think we talked about it in here, part of those fees that we collect go for paying down those loans, correct?
Yes, debt service is the first thing that is repaid when we collect the fees.
Okay, so.
Well, I should restate that we have to operate and maintain the facility.
Oh, I get that part. But it's what I'm kind of getting at is it's not like we said taxpayers, you're paying, I forget what the original cost was. 300 million. Okay. So taxpayers didn't pay $360 million. That was all done through bonding and loans and things like that. So what happens is that I don't really think they get charged twice. It's only once when they drive on it, or every day they get charged actually. And so I don't think it's a double payment that's being done there. Otherwise, that thing would have been paid off years and years and years ago. If it was straight tax dollars, I'm just trying to understand it. I mean, it didn't make sense to me. Because that's the way we do everything in my city is you can bond for it and then you have bond against a funding mechanism. So it's always paid just one time. So I'm not trying to dispute what you're saying. I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah, there's different ways of looking at it, and we could spend a whole bunch of time. I think part of the other side of the story was that South Bay voted for Transnet for 2 HOV lanes, and they're only going to get 1.
Oh, I get that.
And at the same time, going to pay for the 125. So it could be nor here nor there. But that's the other part.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to understand it better.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Ms. Maxon?
Thank you. Thank you to Mr. Estrella and Ms. Young for the presentation. On slide number 3, it caught my eye where it says that currently you've achieved system stability for toll collections. I'm going to assume that also, or it really means accuracy on toll collections. What changed operationally that led to this current achievement? What changed then in how we operate?
Well, we've been working for some time on this project as I started almost 2 years ago, but as we started examining and when we entered a contract with the existing vendor, you know, we've came up with some challenges. So as we started working through that, we needed to make sure that if we were going to address any future options in terms of what direction we want to go with the back office systems, we sat down with the existing vendor and explained and discussed it and clarified that in order for us to proceed forward and continue to collect tolls and toll transactions, there was a couple of elements that we need to agree to. So that was expressed to them and we extended the contract with the existing vendor. The two main components were, and Mario already alluded to, there is some gaps and we will be working to fix that on toll collection violations. But most important for maintaining a steady state of operations was that we continue to collect tolls so we could report on them to meet our bond covenants and also our financial reporting, but also just simply processing the transaction data and making sure that we get that data. Once we get the data from the roadway system, we get it and then we package it and then work through and provide it to a number of practices. So making sure that the account information to the customer service is correct, making sure that any financial reporting and information is correct. So that's what changed at this time during that process where we just need to make sure that we continue to collect our tolls, but also process our toll transactions.
And have you seen a reduction in complaints that indicate that you have been successful?
I would just say there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And short of stating the advancements that we've made, I think that our goal is to make sure that for the time being right now, we continue to collect our tolls and processing, but turn the page and start looking toward what, you know, what this new system will offer for us.
But to answer, yes, we've seen an improvement in customer service, but it's not where we would like to be. We have a lot of more places to be higher up, but it has improved. And part of it is, you know, less complaints because we're trying to getting things done and dealing with the issues.
Thank you.
Thank
Would you
you.
venture to say that that improvement is 10%, maybe 50% better? Sorry.
I don't have the metrics in front of me. We can get back to you on a bunch of the metrics.
Mayor Ayers?
Yeah, I support this. I think this is the right way to go. But I did have a couple of concerns I wanted to talk about, wanted to hear your response on. First is TCA is an organization founded in 1986, is its governance and how that pertains to us. And I think, Mario, you touched on it where you said that they're moving into, I want to say, San Bernardino and Sacramento. So my first question is, what is in it for TCA? They were formed in Orange County. Their board is a split board of directors formed by a JPA. They've got kind of a strange governance, all focused on Orange County. So why are they going outside of Orange County?
I can't speak to why they're going, but I could tell you sort of the value proposition for TCA and what's been shared with us. And essentially, from our perspective, there's experience to be gained in partnering with TCA. They bring the expertise. They have an existing system.
I understand why we're doing it.
But for TCA, their value proposition is for, they see an opportunity for sharing back office resources.
So maybe a cost saving.
A cost savings, resource savings, but they're also looking at future opportunities because this model includes a partnership between public agency governments.
And we have the director of the TCA toll operations here, and if I'm allowed, I'm not sure he can answer the question, but it is a cost efficiency
Yeah, and I was curious, do we know if San Bernardino is up and running yet or Sacramento? I didn't see it in
San
online.
Bernardino's running. The YOLO 80 project is being developed. And I think you're working on Riverside, right, Benny, on partnering? I'm not sure on that one. But the San Bernardino one is, I think it's running.
Okay, so then let me move to the second part of the question, which is, so we have an agreement. I like the idea. I heard that we have system requirements we put together. In the contract, I'm treating TCA like a vendor now, like I would any other vendor selection I would go through. Do we have some sort of service level agreement, SLA requirements that are in our agreement with them? I'm treating them like a vendor.
We don't have service level agreements with them, but we do have the ability to reconsider the cost per transaction on an annual basis to making sure that we align the cost on our side and the trips on our side and revisit that with them.
I'm not thinking about the cost right now. I think we've talked about that at length. I'm happy with that. I'm more concerned about performance. This has to take data in. It has to take it through our hardware, if you will, send it up to TCA. TCA has to do some transactions, probably with the state, come back, and then okay the toll, and then follow through with billing. I'll give an example. If that transaction takes too long, then we're going to start seeing issues on our side. How would we go about clearing that? And this is why I get back to the governance issue. I don't know who to go to. I've got Orange County electeds that I'm going to have to go beg and plead with in order if something's not working within TCA. I just want to understand that we've looked at that, and I would have thought the way to do it is to have a service level agreement in the contract.
So perhaps I can address that. This arrangement is a little bit different than what you would typically see at SANDAG, where we have a direct relationship with a vendor. Our relationship is with TCA, and TCA has its relationship with its existing vendor. But our agreement contemplates that SANDAG will have the ability to essentially avail itself of the service levels that are set forth in TCA's vendor agreement, and that we will be working with TCA should we encounter any of those issues that you described, that we would be working together with TCA for SANDAG to essentially recover what would be its proportional share of any of those issues. So our agreement with TCA does contemplate that, and we have a process in place for addressing that. But SANDAG does not have a direct vendor relationship with the vendor who will be developing the system.
And who is the vendor? Is it a large toll vendor of some type?
It's Brick. Yeah, they've been in the business for some time. That's their back office vendor operator.
Okay, great. Thank you. That answered my question.
Thank you. First Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just kind of hopefully a few things to kind of wrap it up. One, I want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Moreno. I don't think there's anything more satisfying than when you're terming out of office to see things actually being wrapped up and to be there when it gets wrapped up. So I appreciate your leadership and your much longer term knowledge about these challenges than my short stint here. And stepping up and made the motion going forward. A couple of things. One, the staff report mentions that the board gave direction to look at other tolling companies. Can you remind me what date that was or what month that was? It was last year, I believe.
I don't want to misrepresent the date. My recollection is that we've really kind of been discussing this concept in very broad terms, maybe back as far as 2024, that this was a model that we were seeing in amongst other agencies, and that we would do some work to explore it. I would say the bulk of the work that was done in 2025, I want to say in the summer, fall timeframe, but I can get you some more precise dates there.
Yeah, my point in really asking the question is, I think it was sometime in 2025 where the specific direction was given by the board, and it is now February. I want to highlight how fast you've gone from the board direction to actually delivering this in front of us. As a SANDAG board, and I think as individual agencies, we get beat up a lot by the past and don't get enough recognition for when we actually learn those lessons. The people that made those actions back are gone. Different board members are here. So I want to applaud that you really jumped on this and actually brought this to a successful conclusion. So thank you for that. The other couple of things, one, you've kind of framed it as a 5-year program. Was that to say that gets us far enough out to get comfortable? Was it thinking about when managed express lanes might come to the forefront? We'll need to be thinking about that. I think about the capital investment to make this happen. It's not insignificant, even against all the other bigger numbers that you talked about. But was the 5-year, is it a limitation or is it?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, and sorry, I was referencing within the context that in traditionally when we update back office systems or any major technology project, the lifespan varies, but for back office systems varies between 3 to 5 years depending on the complexity and the extent. So that's the context when I said 5 years. So the idea there is that this provides an opportunity that if we partner with another public agency, then we could even work together to maybe get our heads together and maybe partner. And if we choose to, as Mario alluded, add other facilities, then there's value there too.
Okay, and I wasn't trying to lock you in.
Oh no,
but I appreciate, but there'll be an opportunity for staff and then the board ultimately to decide, hey, this working well with TCA, we're just going to keep rolling rather than having to make another major investment, or learn the lessons and maybe we take it over, or like you said, some other entity going forward. One of the things in your staff report was this question. I want to be careful about how I frame this about the violations. And in terms of how we do the data migration from the system that we have now may affect our ability to collect old violations. I've only been here a little bit more than a year. Can you remind us like what we think the magnitude of that is, of that outstanding?
Yeah, so it is of concern to us. And from what I understand is that there's a number of accounts that have not been able to collect fees. And that is in the range between 6 million collected annually, and about 90% of those are paid within the 90-day period. But it's something that through this technology, this back office system, we could actually leverage this new tool to also improve our violation processing and also put in place the DNV hold, which is a gap that we currently are under right now.
Okay, so did I interpret those numbers to mean the outstanding is 10% of 6 million or? Yeah, okay.
Hello, Kimberly Trammell, Director of Accounting and Finance. So the $6 million number is what we're collecting on an annual basis. And let me also just expand on, if we get paid on what is owed, it is generally paid in the first 90 days. So if we do not bring all of these accounts over, we're estimating that some portion of the 6 million that we get paid on an annual basis may not be able to be collected. But that 90-day component means that most of what we are getting is paid fairly quickly. So it's really just a smaller period of time that is of concern.
Okay, I think the staff report said that staff was going to bring an item to the board about a deeper look into it and then how the board wants to resolve that. So
correct.
Okay.
And we are digging into what is in the accounts receivable right now and how much is possibly pursuable, which will influence our recommendations to the board on options for what to do with those balances.
Okay.
You know, a good example could be, I'm not saying that this may be the proposal or not, grab all the information and pass it to a collecting agency.
Right.
Right, that could be a possibility, but that we need to flush all that out so we can come with all the options and all the information to you.
Okay. Great work. Since other people have mentioned, I had a personal experience in my private sector days with TCA. I always found it to be very good. Of late, I found that they don't update their DMV records very frequently. And so I got a number of notice of violations for a car that I gotten rid of that DMV knew I got rid of. TCA didn't know yet, but they actually were very responsive when I provided evidence to them. So on that kind of experience, I'm very excited about the good work you've done in bringing this forward. So I'll certainly be supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much to our staff. The effort that went into this was monumental, I know. And as was pointed out, rather quickly it was done and we appreciate it. After we vote on this marks the end of a pretty unfortunate chapter in SANDAG history, and I'm looking forward to moving forward to brighter days. So please vote. We do have a motion and a second.
Bill, just put number 1.
Okay, very good. Congratulations to us. We're moving on. All right, we're now going to move to the flexible fleets call for projects. Hey, Jenny, go ahead.
There we go. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Jenny Russo. I'm the grants program manager here at SANDAG. I'm very excited to bring to you the Flexible Fleets pilot grant program call for projects. To give you some kind of overlay about what this program, the goal is to fund projects that expand shared mobility travel choices, enhance transit connections, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled. The program is going to provide initial seed funding for pilots that can serve as models for the region that we can test and see how they perform in different areas and different situations, and then allow those pilots to be sustained for funding for beyond the timeline of the grant program. So to give you an idea about how we developed this grant program, it started last year. We brought the draft evaluation criteria to our working groups and our transportation committee for input. Following those meetings, revisions were made to the call. We then sought guidance from our federal funding agencies, as this is funded through the Federal Highway Administration, to make sure that we had the correct eligibility contained in the call for projects. And based on that input that we received from them, we made additional changes to the call. And as we all know, there were changes made at the federal government level, lots of executive orders that were passed last year. So we had to implement all of those changes also into the grant program. So you may have been wondering why this hasn't come to you in a bit. There was a lot of stuff going on in the background to make sure we were correct and current with what the federal agencies allow for. So I'm here today to present to you the final call for projects and ask for your approval to release it. The call is included for you in attachment 1. So in 2024, this board made a one-time allocation of Federal Regional Surface Transportation Program funding, or RSTP funding, for this grant program. So $4.5 million will be available to fund services through 2029. Based on feedback from the Transportation Committee, the maximum awards will consist of $1 million for new pilots and $500,000 for enhanced pilots. This was based on experience that we've had with other pilots in our region, where we know that startup costs are a lot higher for a new service than they are for an existing service. And then due to the funding that's available and the award sizes, we anticipate awarding somewhere between 3 to 5 pilots through the grant program. All of those projects will compete equally, which means there's no specific amount of funding dedicated to each project type. Applicants will be required to provide a match of at least 11.47%. So this slide highlights the four main eligibility types. So first are eligible applicants. These are your local agencies, also state and federal organizations, tribal governments, transit districts, and military institutions. Nonprofits and community organizations are not directly eligible, but they can partner with an eligible applicant to provide a service in their area. So there's two types of eligible pilots based on the guidance that we receive from the federal agencies. So first is a new pilot. This is a pilot that's not currently operated or has not operated in the past. And then services that have operated in the past would only be eligible if two conditions are met. First is that the service did not receive any prior funding from the U.S. Department of Transportation, because that's the same funding that's funding this program, and they don't allow continued operational funding through the grant. And then second is that the service needs to be modified in some way so that it can accommodate new growth. So some of the examples in there could be expansion of the service area, could be using a different service model, providing new project partners, or having a new technology on the service. The types of eligible services are listed in the purple section here for you. And then lastly, the eligible activities would be the actual service operations of the pilot. So it could be either directly provided by the applicant or through a contracted service. So this slide summarizes the revisions that we made based on the requirements from the federal funding agencies last year and those regulation changes that I mentioned previously. Additionally, the administration of equipment that's purchased with federal funds is very onerous. If any of you have a federal grant, you may be familiar with this. So it poses a significant administrative burden on both SANDAG and that grantee if they have those federal assets. So for this program, there's a very high likelihood that the grantee would have to reimburse the federal agencies for their share of property because we don't think it would depreciate fast enough during the grant term to allow that requirement to be met. So due to these factors, we are recommending that equipment purchases not be an eligible grant cost. So this slide is your evaluation criteria. This is what we would be using to score the applications. Based on the input we received last year, the highest weights of the criteria, as you can see, are financial sustainability, feasibility, and performance of the service and connectivity. And the detailed scoring rubric is included in attachment 2. So for enhanced pilots, there are additional prompts in the feasibility and performance criteria to evaluate that pilot and award greater points for services that have demonstrated success and would benefit from continuation. Other than that nuance, the criteria is exactly the same between the two. So that's the criteria where we would see what are those enhanced services doing compared to other, like a new service. So these are the proposed performance metrics for the program. There's additional details for you in attachment 3. Grantees would be providing data on these performance metrics to us quarterly, and we would be providing that to the Transportation Committee on that quarterly basis so you can see how those pilots are performing. And then the final project report would demonstrate the overall performance of that project so we could be able to evaluate and say these pilots work well, these are areas that maybe could use some different changes and things like that. So this is our anticipated timeline for the call for projects. Pending your approval today, we would release the call next month. Consistent with all of our other grant programs, the application period would be open for 90 days with applications due in June. The applications would be reviewed over the summer by a panel of individuals who have experience in deploying and operating flexible fleets services. So really looking for folks that know how a pilot works, what services are successful, and they can really dig onto those applications and make sure we're funding the best projects that we receive. And all of those evaluators would be screened to make sure that they do not have a conflict of interest with the applicant. And then the funding recommendations would be brought to the Transportation Committee and the board sometime this fall. Once approved, we would sign those grant agreements and services would begin shortly thereafter. And all of those pilots would need to be completed no later than December 2029 per the funding agencies. So the recommendation before you today is the Transportation Committee recommends that the Board of Directors approve the release of the Flexible Fleet Pilot Grant Program call for projects. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jenny. We'll go right to public comment. Michael?
Yes, we have one in person. That's Cesar Javier. If you're online, please raise your hand now. This is item 5, Flexible Fleets Pilot Grant Program. Call for projects.
Purita and Cesar, what we understood of pilot program is that it reminds us of the 8 elements of research, and these are experimentation and observation. Are we not adequate as far as intellectuals to do some programs that has to be experimented and observed? Let us go direct to the point. When we speak of mobility and transportation and circulation, I think we do not go through such this scheme of pilot. You know, when we say pilot, it's just a temporary thing. Let's go direct to the point because we have all the time to think and come up a project or a service bending or advertisement, if I might say. We trust you. Let's go direct to the point because we are spending taxpayers' money here. These are basic. Why do you have to do some research, etc., and temporarily do projects? My question is, as an example, did we go through pilot budgeting, programming on e-bike lane projects? We see the bad things now, the ugly things happening with this. Financially and physically, we have victims already of this. Please, let's think before.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Doing some temporary.
Next is Paul the Bold online, followed by Blair Beekman. This is item 5.
Paul the Bold. A lot of good information in attachment 1. The scoring criteria looks great at first, but then a look at the scoring rubric shows how ridiculously subjective it is, with a sliding scale of what the interviewer thinks is, quote, clearly, sufficiently, mostly, partially, or minimally suited, unquote. Lots of room to choose favorites. In the performance metrics, there should be something about client satisfaction. It is important to get a general sense of how well the service is doing, what potential or actual problems might exist, and so on. Looks good, but subjective scoring rubric criteria should be better defined. And by the way, Michael, my hand was raised at the beginning of the consent items. Perhaps you should keep a list of speakers with their hand raised, because I raised my hand again as soon as I noticed that it was put down. But I sent in my comments anyway. Hope you read them. Thanks.
Next is Blair Beekman, followed by the original draw. This is item 5.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Yeah, Paul LeBold always offers really good, informative public comment. Sorry that the public comment a little snafu there. Good luck in clearing it up. Always good public, informative things from Paul. Thank you. I also wanted to comment that thank you for the ideas that tech accountability can really lend to overall public accountability that was mentioned in the previous item. Thanks for that mention, and good luck. I should have said accountability. Good luck in accountability at the end of my previous public comment. Now, to go on to this item, thank you very much for it. I'm learning a new language. I can now connect flexible fleet issues with the term shared mobility. I don't know how to better say shared mobility, and it's a great term. And it's a really important concept in this round of flexible fleet issues that you're working on. So thank you. I'm really hopeful what you can be working on. I mean, we've been working on shared mobility for years. We ran into a major snag with it a few years ago, and it sounds like you've worked out the kinks about it and are trying to move forward with shared mobility ideas. Good luck in those efforts. I think it's a really important concept for our future. And believe it or not, Tijuana, I think, has some ideas in just their regular bus service, how they use their bus service in the Tijuana area that maybe can be of help to yourselves in that effort of shared mobility future. I also wanted to ask the question, how is the electric car process, battery process going? We're all in agreement that a certain form, chemical combination of electric battery is not good. Are we being clear what can be a good form for the future of electric car batteries? And are you describing that to the public and making that a clear process for all of us so we know what the safe electric battery is for our future? I hope you can do that here at SANDAG. Explain that to the public regularly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the original draw, followed by Truth.
Man, it is just crazy listening to all the fraud that happens at this place. I mean, you guys don't even care that the TCA has a revolving door of CEOs. Anywho, we'll see if Ryan Chamberlain does his job right and doesn't leave. Yeah, talking about screening for conflicts of interest. I mean, come on. This is only, you guys are always engaged in that. It's like, and it's just a bunch of BS. It's like I can't even keep my mind straight because you guys are just so corrupt. And we're always paying twice for something. You're like, I'm going to provide this to you, and then we're going to have to charge you to use it. And then we'll just keep giving more money to those entities that, so they can get full cost recovery, and then we'll just up your price for that to use it. And with all the electric stuff that's coming into play, and the fact that San Diego wants to have like several 100 million lithium batteries, and we're taking our fresh water and put it towards that, and also AI data storage, right? And AI also takes up a lot of power, and it's like, how's our power grid going to handle all these things you guys want to do? And it's like you're severely impeding people's ability to travel by doing this. There's not even infrastructure that's going to be implemented in place. And I mean, even Carb was talking about yesterday, wanting, and you guys have talked about it, but freight trucks to be electric and acting like that's going not to halt commerce. So like all this stuff you guys do is based off of BS because you say that you're like protecting the planet, protecting our lives. No, you're putting money in your pockets is what you're doing with your stupid environmental reviews, thinking that they're going to come in and be able to determine if somebody's going to feel a train under their house. I mean, come on. It's like, you guys are so fraudulent. You should all be in prison for just treason I mean, you're engaging in, oh my gosh, so many crimes. It's just fuck.
Next is Truth, followed by Consuelo.
Hey there, studies have already shown that these neighborhood electric vehicles are costing 5 times the price of a bus, and yet only carry about 5 people, while a bus can hold up to 60 people at a time. Communities like Coronado already found that microtransit golf carts can't even access the entire city. And Chula Vista is failing to promote their nice and expensive van shuttle. I seem to be the only one who knows about it. All services should have a required fare box recovery ratio threshold, or they shouldn't even be considered for funding, because we, the people, are not SANDAG's piggy bank. This expensive utopianist idea only makes sense as a public service to seniors, disabled veterans, and those with disabilities in rural areas. And yet SANDAG chose to prioritize walkable beach communities. These shiny toys to please the state should be mostly funded with private dollars, advertisements, destination paid stops, paid rides, etc. It's only fair because public transit already does all of those methods for cost recovery. They just fell hard on paid rides thanks to SANDAG's lack of accountability measures. I approve of metrics like trip denial rate, average wait times, total ridership, and average trip cost. I'd like to see safety ratio and efficiency of service added in as metrics. SANDAG's write-up says that for someone to get a commercial driver's license, one must meet age and residency requirements and pass written and skills tests. Can someone please explain how there are so many truck drivers in California that meet none of those qualifications? Maybe SANDAG should sue the state for violations of law and openly fight the new scum agenda. Because whoever wants to fight the Trump agenda over the DIE, DBE language, I hope you're going to give up your city's microtransit so another city can take it. I repeat, for Manuela's ignorance, equity is dead because it was never organically created. It started in 2020 with a burning down of Minneapolis, La Mesa, and countless cities all over the nation. Equity is death. That's why we killed it. Anyways, best questions goes to Bruce today, and I'm actually going to miss Vivian call me crazy. And Mario, get your literal act together. I'm going to bring buckets to collect the SANDAG sweat. Thank you.
Next is Consuelo, followed by our last public comment, Gambler. This is item number 5.
Okay. Consuelo here, and yep, amen to what Blair had to say. I agree, Blair. Paul is definitely got a lot to offer and is often disregarded, which is a shame. But anyways, okay, so next, the presentation was not equitable. You can have your charts, but you need to explain what it is that you're displaying, especially for the people who can't see them. Or what if you had someone who was blind? Honestly, sheesh. Okay, so pilot funded by, yeah, federal government whores, as Audra mentioned earlier, all to further the implementation and the blueprint of the United Nations agenda. And that is what always takes place here in this agency. Neither of the said 2 conditions that are being met are, they're not considering the real needs of the people of our county. What also, what was it that I had to say? Oh, not to mention, yeah, oh, what Audra had to say. Yeah, I'm glad you said that yesterday at CAR because, yeah, not to mention the heavy lithium batteries that do more damage to our roads due to their weight. And imagine, yeah, the trucks, oh my God. So backwards, so inverted. So, gosh, it's a shame that, woo, if more people were paying attention and knew you people existed, these agencies existed, wow, you wouldn't exist. Let's just put it that way. Okay, I'm done.
Our last public comment is Gambler.
I can answer your question regarding the batteries. They're going to be changing them to graphene batteries. It's simple. It works better than lithium and cobalt. You don't need to go ahead and dig it up and all that stuff. They're going to go ahead and do it because they're stealing technology from Julian Brown. They paid 2 universities to build the same device that he built. And guess what? Julian Brown, a 17-year-old kid that did it in high school, by the way, and our government decided to go ahead and steal his technology. SANDAG and all these programs are working together with it. They know the plan. They know we're going to be moving to graphene batteries. All the lithium batteries are going to need to be replaced, and they're going to make an ungodly amount of money. The key thing is just make sure that we build as many as possibly right now so that they can get the new contract later and basically double dip. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I'm paying attention to everything that's happening regarding that. I understand that he went ahead and came up with that technology, which could go ahead and bring in the county $5 million easy if we recycle our plastic. We could go ahead and strengthen up the roads by putting graphene into the roads. The only reason why we don't use it right now is because to make low-grade carbon, it costs too much. But recycling plastic, you get it basically, you're getting paid to do it. Why not go ahead and just hand that over to the private sector and screw over you guys? This is how stupid each of the elected officials are. You have to pick up the slack. They get all the money. You have to handle all the people losing their jobs. Congratulations. You're fucking us over again and again and again and again because you should not be in office. These companies are stealing votes to keep you in there because you're dumb as dirt. End of story. Don't believe me? Look up what I said. Look up the fact that silver prices got jumped up by the Chinese and then it got shorted by.
Your time has expired. That concludes our public comment, Chair.
Very good. We have 5 people on the board and it is 12:30, so I need a motion to extend the meeting to 1 p.m.
So moved.
And may I have a second? Second? Okay. Did you get that, Michael?
I didn't get the second, Chair.
The second was Jones.
Thank you.
Please vote to extend the meeting to 1 o'clock to give people time to comment. Vivian's gone. Okay. Okay, you guys are leaving, but we still have a quorum. All right. Now if I can go back to, the first speaker is Councilmember McGasterland.
My question is, I hope pretty simple. So equipment cannot be part of the budget, a part of the granted money. Can it be part of the 11.47% match?
Yes, it certainly can.
Okay. And what about renting? So if someone wanted to rent vehicles, can the rent for those vehicles be
Come out of the grant? Yes.
Okay. And then sentence, if an applicant charges a fare for their service, trips connecting to and from transit stops and stations must remain free to the rider for the duration of the SANDAG funded program. Is that, could you explain that a little bit? What's the context for that? It's under eligible and ineligible expenses. And then under eligible expenses, it says that if an applicant for a grant charges a fare for their service, they can't charge it. It's got to be free during the time of the grant. It's on page, there are no page numbers here. Looks like the 17th page of the PDF of the draft call.
I believe that was intended to be a suggestion as we're hoping to make transit connections. I believe that was not meant to be.
Is your mic on?
Oh, can you hear me? I believe that wasn't intended to be a requirement, but more so as this is a goal is to connect to transit, that would be, encouraged and included, but it looks like it currently says that it's required. So we can.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Williamson. I'm your Deputy Director of Mobility Planning. So this is a carryover from the first pilot we did. And remember that part of what we're trying to demonstrate with flexible fleets is it a valuable first mile, last mile access to transit? So as part of that, we want to encourage a seamless fare system. And that's why we say if they're going to charge a fare on the flexible fleet and you're going to transit today on Oceanside or in Pacific Beach when it was operating, it was free. And the goal there is that you have a transit pass already. We're encouraging you now to go ahead and use your transit pass to use the flexible fleet service. So that's the intent of what we're getting to with this requirement.
Great. And yeah, when I think about examples, the Sorrento Valley station for the coaster is a 2-mile walk to get to UCSD. That gap is so annoying. So some people bring their e-bikes, but I can imagine some sort of flexible fleet solution there.
Very good. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, as I was reviewing this, I have to agree with one of the public comments. I had written down that the rubric does seem very subjective. I understand that there's probably a reason for that because there's such a large variation potentially between the different pilot programs, but I think I prefer rubrics to be as objective as possible. And so I'm just curious, I don't want to hold this up, but maybe for the future, how the question is, how can we restructure this so that data is more integral to the rubric framework? Because even looking at the performance metrics, I feel like they're a little lackluster. And I would offer potentially a strategy, which is to have some kind of benchmarks to help guide and help understand, what some of the different evaluation criteria might be. Because if something is clearly and convincingly, I don't really know what that means, right? Except that it's the very top level comment that you can get. So, and just, even looking at it, there's only 2 subsections that do have objective criteria. And lastly, I would just say, even on the connectivity piece, which is 20 points, I think it's really important to demonstrate that. But could it, is an applicant required to map out, to have a map of how they're going to operate in, let's say, a transit desert or something like that? I'm not clear if that's something that's required, because you could have some kind of narrative, right? But I think it's really important to have some kind of mapping system that shows that this pilot is going to operate in X area, right? And then I would assume that from there we could look at, having certain benchmarks. We would want to have, a certain amount of ridership or something like that. It's just food for thought for the future. Again, like I said, I don't want to hold this up. I think, it's really important to have this type of flexible fleet pilot program, but I would just offer it to be a little bit more objective in the future, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pikus.
Yes, I was listening to your presentation, and at first I was scratching my head as to how flexible fleets can reduce vehicle miles traveled. But I'm getting the impression that if you get someone to get them to a bus station, then they won't take their car somewhere else. So I will concede that point. However, it seems that all of this flexible fleet stuff is mostly already covered by the private sector in the form of the Uber and the Lyft, especially as some of our commenters have pointed out for weeks, that a lot of these micro transit trips are costing $60 a trip, and that's easily beaten by the private sector. So I don't see the value in this unless it's the grant program is somehow just reimbursing people for Uber rides over to the bus station.
All righty, Mayor Snow.
Mine is just a comment or a question regarding the reporting. It was indicated that there's quarterly reporting. Just having been a grant recipient, quarterly reporting is kind of onerous. And I'd rather have them out spending the money and doing the work than spending time filling out reports. So I would suggest biannual or even annual reporting on these.
Thank you. Councilmember Shin.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. I just wanted a question in regards to the blend. It might be kind of in line with Director Pikus. Just is there a correlation between emerging technologies such as like autonomous vehicles and like the usage of AI included in this?
So autonomous is not allowed in here because there's a lot of risk that comes into that, and we would need more time to really evaluate how that would look. So it's not what we're looking for through this grant program. We're looking for an actual driver.
Gotcha. So, and this includes something like Ghost Side, like what I saw in Oceanside when I had my business there. They would pick up my customers there. Okay. And then it does seem to me, though, that we are on an exponential with emerging technologies. And if we're saying that we're going to do pilot programs for that, are we keeping wind with what's taking place with fleets such as that, between not just autonomous, but also like what Uber and their forecast and their strategic plan is really stating things that's pretty monumental. And I was just wondering, are we keeping at that pace? Here comes the boss, the big hitter.
Boss lady's coming up.
Guns coming in.
This is our favorite conversation to have, Councilmember Shin. So legal advised us to not allow automation in the current pilot program. That's not to say in the future, when we have a bit more information, there are more providers out there, that we won't allow for it. We'll be having a lot of conversations on emerging technology over the coming year. We're going to be putting together a task force and a panel to help us update our emerging technology white paper and assumptions for the 2029 regional plan. So automation is a topic that'll be coming to the TC city and to the board over the next year. So yes, we are tracking, we're keeping pace, we're meeting with industry. In fact, Mayor Jones has been invited to join Mario and I for a meeting with Waymo in a few weeks to talk about what that service is, their plans are and how they're operating. But that's really a separate from this pilot project.
Gotcha. Okay. I just see the nexus at some point, so just wanted to bring that up.
If I can just chime into what Antoinette is saying. So part of the existing existing services out there, they could in fact show that they're providing more benefit of that service through technology improvements. So that is somewhere where we could see, are they doing an upgraded booking rides? Is there a different system that they're using that's more technology driven or cheaper, or, is something more current? So we see that as a way that we can integrate technology, not so much autonomous, but is there other things that we're piloting? It's a really important component here is that we're piloting service. So we want to see different things. We want to see how different things operate and what's a winner and what's not.
Yeah, I saw like on what Director Pikus was saying in our rural area, what I had noticed was MTS showed that we were in the hundreds of dollars per ride for subsidies. And it would just be great if there is some creativity to be able to say, okay, these other services can provide just a quick Lyft or Uber, like one way or the other. And, because I'll drive someone to Ramona for $300. Okay, that's all I got.
I think we have to remember that no transit is a profit maker, right? That we're not in this to make money. It's a public service. It's even New York City's fare box recovery is something like 56%. So this is a pilot project so we can learn from it all. And hopefully it will be awarded to those cities, to a variety of types of cities, a city that might have a college, a city that might just be a small beach town, a city that is much more urban and just a neighborhood. So we'll be able to learn these sorts of things and understand what works and what doesn't work and what the private sector can provide better and what it can't provide better. Mayor Duncan.
Thank you. So it looks like there's really two categories. There's new pilots, and then the other category you're referring to is enhanced pilots. Is that correct? So my concern with that is in regard to many of the criteria descriptions in regard to enhanced pilots, because it keeps saying modifications made to an existing pilot to improve service and conjunctively accommodate new growth. But there's multiple cities that have had a pilot that no longer have a pilot. So one, they're not existing pilots. So it seems like even though they're included in that definition, this criteria doesn't fit any of those. And my goal with the flexible fleet programs is to have pilots that end up becoming actual flexible fleets that last into the future. So not just to have a pilot, then have it go away as has happened. So if you have a jurisdiction that's had a pilot, learned from it, and then is applying for a grant for, I guess what we would call here an enhanced pilot, or what I would call a new program based off of what they've learned and what they have paid for, not what SANDAG has put one penny into, because my understanding of the enhanced pilot definition is it can have received any previous flexible fleet grant. So it seems like we're almost like putting restrictions on jurisdictions that may have learned things financially to have a viable program, of which they never received a penny of a grant, but they won't qualify to maybe put forward a pilot flexible fleet that would actually work and maybe be sustainable with the restrictions that are in our grants. If it was something like, maybe it was or, because even it's talking about accommodating new growth. Well, what if a lot of the jurisdictions, which I think is true, that had pilots that are no longer in existence, I think they may have overshot the amount of what they were trying to do. And so what they've learned is, okay, we can have a flexible fleet potentially, and we want to try that that's smaller but more effective. Maybe, like Councilmember or Member Pikus was saying, would it help VMT or whatever? Yeah, what if you have a 2-mile route that's constantly used, whether it connects to any other transportation or not, but if it kept all those people from taking their cars, and that's the narrower program that was learned about, but they need to get it off the ground with this flexible fleet application, would they be prohibited from applying? So that's my concern. I'm trying to get to where we could get those jurisdictions to have a financially successful. And then the other part of that goes with that is what if they've learned, hey, we need to charge because it isn't just connecting to other transportation. Maybe it's the route that they've learned, oh, we have to charge, $2 for this. And so, but are they prohibited under these rules if it has to be completely free? Did I misunderstand that? Is it said that in order to get a pilot program grant, it has to be free during the whole time?
No, it does not.
Okay.
That's just the connection to transit. If it's offered at free, it needs to stay free. So if you had a service that was operating and you learned, as you said, that maybe something in there needs to be shifted, that would qualify as an enhanced pilot and could be applied for under the grant program. So if you're changing your service area, if you're changing your fee structure, anything like that you learned through that prior pilot, and you're going to want to relaunch the service with some changes, that would be eligible under the grant program.
Where does that say that in any of these materials that we have?
It's in the enhanced pilot definition. So what we heard from the funding agencies is you need to make some change to that pilot because that's what makes it a pilot. So as long as you're making some adjustment, you've learned something and you're making a change, that qualifies as an enhancement. Now you may make a change and maybe it doesn't enhance it through what you learned through the pilot program on the new version, but you don't know that until you test it.
Great. No, that's what I'm actually proposing. So can you show me anywhere in here where it says what you're saying? Because everything I look at says all under definitions, like over and over, I just keep looking at the definitions and the grading, right, to get it. And it keeps saying expansion of a current program and.
Where is it? Yeah, it's right on the very front page where it has the pilot types under enhanced pilot. There's 4 different bullets of what they are. So changing your geographic limits, your new operation, your new service model, a different partner, different technology, any of those types of things would qualify.
Okay, but I don't see any of that in the scoring rubric. So everybody who scores it, how are they going to know that? Because the scoring rubric says, which is what I'm referring to, says, the various expansion part of it.
So the rubric is not going to address eligibility. So when the applications come in, our staff will check for that and make sure it's an enhanced pilot. When it goes to be scored, that's where they're all scored equally, and it gets into the different types of things. So looking at connectivity of that new model, is it connecting better than it did before, and really assessing what is described by that applicant about how that new service is performing and what is it attaining, the feasibility, the performance, looking at all of those factors. That's what you'll see in the evaluation criteria, but the evaluators are not going to be evaluating it for eligibility. That's done on the front end to make sure that there's some modification being made.
Right, so they're eligible.
Correct.
And then they get scored. And the best scoring ones win.
Yes.
So what I am saying is when you look at what they're going to score it on, they're scoring it on things for 20 points that say, it says, and I'll just read it, it's one sentence, it's throughout the whole scoring rubric, enhanced pilots. Significant modifications were made to an existing pilot to improve service and accommodate new growth. There is no bullet point that says, there was a former pilot, so it says existing. So it doesn't cover cities that have had pilots under this definition if they no longer have it, a service. And 2, it says accommodate new growth, which is the first sentence I said when I started talking today was, what if it's a more efficient program that could become long-term sustainable? No scorer will be able to score for those things. And so that type of program would likely win 0 points out of 20. It's not an existing pilot. And they're not, even if they describe the old pilot and they're talking about making it efficient and functional, they're not accommodating new growth. I mean, I guess you could, torture the words to say it's growth doesn't mean more, but that's my concern.
Would you like
and
us
everything you said is not addressed.
Would you suggest we change the wording then to a more efficient service or something along those lines to capture
or
it better?
just have another bullet point maybe in the rubric that is like 2 sentences or 1 sentence long like this one that says, if there's been a prior pilot program that of course has not received 1 penny from SANDAG to do the pilot program, and they're proposing a new pilot that is, differentiate how that is from the prior one, or it may be more efficient or more, for me, for all the things we do, I want them to be sustainable. And I don't just mean, environmentally, I mean financially. That's what I would propose for all the scoring rubrics in that same 20-point part, because otherwise I think all of those will be excluded by the scorers.
I think we're happy to provide that additional clarification.
Put that in. We have 8 minutes left and 2 more speakers.
I think
So
I've
we're gonna-
achieved what I was trying to, if
You
that was
absolutely
acceptable.
did.
So
Well,
I'm done speaking.
45 seconds ago. All right, Mayor Sanchez.
Thank you very much. And I happen to have been serving on the Transportation Committee with you. And very excited about a second pilot project like this. I will tell you that City of Oceanside's pilot Go Side learned a lot. We ended up expanding the area. We got a ton of feedback saying, don't let this go away. We've discovered other funding options as well as testing out, would people be willing to pay $3? So we learned a lot in that pilot project. And it's actually still going, and we're still looking for ways to maintain it. As to this program, I did ask, could there be, what in terms of the definition of a new pilot? Because we do have another place that we don't have a connector to the Sprinter, and it's a geographic thing. It's like there's a Sprinter, you cross the street, and there's this hill that no one's going to be able to walk up to a really big attraction, and that is a park, indoor arena. At the same time, there are 20 soccer fields there. How can we encourage people to start using the Sprinter rather than drive their cars? So I did ask, would that be considered an existing or, enhanced or a new? And the response was, no, that's a new, because it's in a different area. It would not be connecting to the one downtown. The Go Side was downtown, where we have, a very high concentration of activity, and we need people to walk or, make it easier to get around. So I'm very excited about this. I hope everyone is really excited about it. I really liked that I was able to ask that question at TC and said, yeah, no, that would qualify as a new pilot project. So I'm going to go ahead and move that we say yes on this.
Great.
With that,
that we
with
release
that
the flexible
clarification that
fleets.
has been included.
That we release the flexible fleets pilot grant program, call for projects with the additional bullet in the scoring for enhanced projects. And we're going to go now to Mayor Minto as our final speaker.
She stole my line, so I'll second it.
Second, Mayor Minto.
Well, I had pushed mine, but I don't really.
Oh, it's not up there.
Sorry.
Did you push it twice? Because it's a toggle.
I don't know.
Okay, well, Mayor Jones.
Anyway, I'll try to be brief.
Yeah.
I know we're short on time. I just wanted to, Fallbrook, for instance, so they're kind of rural, so I like that we're actually adding in that you get a good score for that. My question is it possible, because I know for instance, that Gary and Mary West Pace are providing some of those rides already in the rural area, specifically to seniors. So I'm just wondering if we can coordinate with them in a way that makes sense, where we're not spending money on something we don't need to spend on. We want the NCTD service to be as efficient as possible. We don't want to put money towards something that is already being met. So I'm just wondering if we could coordinate on things like that, check with the communities, so that we could spend money on the things that matter. So we can maximize the benefits of it.
Got it. Yeah, we don't want to duplicate it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Mayor Minto? No? Okay, we're going to vote.
Let's
We're going to vote. Please vote. Okay, vote again, please. Mesa Lemon Grove, please vote again. Lemon Grove, yeah. Okay. All righty. Thank you so much. This concludes our meeting. We will be back here on March 13th at 9 a.m. This meeting is adjourned.
Hey, Mario.